Do it live. Do it live.
And we are live, gentlemen. I've got a live crowd here today. We have NetCat as usual, Jonathan, who is
Hello.
returning, and for our first time, who unfortunately couldn't join us last time because of, well, I'm not even going to talk about it. Alex, MagnenoAlex himself. And today we were discussing Star by Star. All right, gentlemen, thoughts on the book?
Well, it's a good book where there's a lot of things that happen in it. There are deaths. There are lots of deaths. And that's one of the things that I actually like in the expanded universe, that you can actually end up seeing in actual consequences to actions. So, yeah. And they don't really pull their punches.
No, they didn't. Especially with this book.
No.
It very much feels like if the Vector Prime was the hardcover Act 1 opener, big deal. This is the hardcover Act 2 middle, the turning point of the series, and it's certainly one of the most epic in terms of scope, besides maybe a few of the end books, but it's definitely one of the most epic in scope of the New Jedi Order books.
Well, it's, again, I look at it almost like a trilogy, and then a bunch of adventures that take place in between. And the trilogy specifically is Vector Prime, Star by Star, and Unifying Force.
Yeah.
And Nihilus is here. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Yard days. I am very PO'd to. Yeah, your work probably gave you trouble. He's rough at work, but okay. So we got NetCat's opinion. How about you, Jonathan?
Oh, I enjoyed it. It's not a favorite in the series for me, but it is a very well done one. And I was a little bit spoiled on the big moment in the book, but
I was too.
The way that it's handled in afterwards is more impressive than the way the moment itself happens, which we'll talk about. But yeah, it's a very, very good book.
My spoiler, believe it or not, came from old lore books. It wasn't even anybody specifically spoiling for me. It's actually, I think I have the book on the shelf. This is the one that spoiled it for me. This old that old guidebook is what spoiled it for me.
It was R.A. Salvatore who spoiled it for me, because he was in a podcast talking, and he just offhandedly mentions it, and I was like, "Whoa! I didn't know we were spoiling Star by Star too."
Well, calm down, man. Calm down.
Yeah, right.
But what did you think, Alex?
I think, well, everybody else kind of said what I would like to say, but I do suppose it is definitely a part 2 in the sense of really moving the plot forward and honestly changing the direction of the entire rest of New Jedi Order and kind of the rest of the series moving forward, because of just how this book turns out, which wasn't originally meant to be the case. So
I actually got some of the BTS behind that.
Yeah.
I guess even in some of the early planning stages, there was going to be a big death, but it actually was going to be the character. It got switched around, but they kept the build up because they didn't want to spoil it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I think
they did it on purpose to mess with you. I can imagine Lucasfilm doing that back in the day, just to mess with the audience.
So I agree with Jonathan that it's not my absolute favorite of the series, but it is. I think it's a pretty solid one. I think it pacing wise, I think it goes on a little longer than necessary. But outside of that, I think it's pretty solid.
There were some small points, at least for me, very, very small points that kind of drug. But for the most part, I really did love this book. It's very rare that someone tells me about a book and or even anything, and it actually lives up to the hype. Oh, I think Yiannis is here. Let me see. Oh, no, we lost net. Hang on a second.
Oof.
I didn't realize we lost net. You didn't pop up. Sorry, buddy.
It's fine. It was about 10 seconds.
But this is the first time in a very long time something has actually lived up to the hype. that they told me about. Because again, anytime somebody really hypes it up, I'm like, oh, well, I better hold my expectations because it's probably not going to be that good. And it was better than I imagined it was going to be, like way, way better. And I know you said this is going to be in, what was it, Dark Journey, but this book really felt to me like a continuation of Young Jedi Knights.
Yep.
Yes.
You can
definitely.
tell
I
that
yeah.
Troy Denning is a big fan, and it's not.
Oh,
just
he
this
does
book.
not hide it at all.
Yeah, and
And
in fact, it's funny because when he has the Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi books, you can tell because the character focus always switches to the Young Jedi Knights characters.
Yeah.
in his books there, and so oh, yep, they were going back to that, and this was the start of him doing that.
And as far as authors being respectful to Kip Duran, he seems to have been the most respectful to Kip Duran.
I love Kip. Gets lost.
Yeah, I do not like how the NJO has portrayed Kip. I feel like it's
been
straight up character assassination from how he grew as a person in the Bantam era. But that's just me. So I'm gonna check my notes.
That's Benazzo's consistent and gripe about NJO from the beginning.
Also, yeah, I haven't been with you guys for NGO up to this point, but I have to say, I think Vector Prime is a phenomenal read. However, one thing that consistently pissed me off was the fact that, Danny Quee exists, and that's mostly due to the fact that R.A. Salvatore didn't really know that there was something blossoming between Tino Ka and Jason, because he even admitted, like, oh, I didn't even know that Han and Leia had kids till I got the job. So, there are things like that make it a bit harder to enjoy Vector Prime at times. But then you jump into Star by Star, and immediately you're like, oh yes, somebody acknowledges the fact that this was a thing. It's so
hey, it's the naked Palpatine level. What's that about?
Magneto, you're right that it is kind of weird that the characters in Vector Prime, specifically the younger, like the kids, did feel very different than the way they felt in Young Jedi Knights, and they definitely feel more.
6-month gap, so I'm like, what? Okay.
They feel more like.
To be fair, it was R.A. Salvatore that started Jason on his 16-year-old having a 30-year-old midlife crisis. So.
Yeah, and that is a problem. That is a discussion for media tie-in writers, because when you have a major universe, at the same time, you don't want to burden your authors, but at the same time, there's so many people who do pay attention to everything, and so it's kind of like, you're getting paid to write in this universe. You should be familiar, or at least
feel like you should do your homework.
Yeah, you should do homework.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a problem for Stover or Lucino,
right.
And from what I heard of people, because I haven't gotten to it yet, I'm planning on getting to it eventually. But from what I've heard, when R.A. Salvatore did the Attack of the Clones novelization, he literally just stuck to stuff from the movie.
That was not
like Terry Brooks added stuff from the EU and from George's own perspective on like Darth Bane and stuff like that. Whereas, and then Matthew Stover literally added stuff from the EU to his novelization. But from what I heard, Salvatore did not really dip into that all that much. Didn't dip into many of the connections.
And some authors don't.
I didn't find the middle book of those three to be anywhere near as interesting as the first or the third.
And I don't think that's a necessary thing to be a media tie-in author, but for NGO specifically, part of the selling point was, oh, this is the big crescendo of all these books you've been reading. That's kind of how they hyped it up. So I would think that the authors for those 19 would do their research.
And if you're going to be like, what I would say is, if you're writing a book featuring previously used characters or or you're building on a previous storyline, if you're like writing an Old Republic book that has nothing to do with any other characters, then of course you don't need to be entrenched in the stuff. But if you're doing a follow-up book in this series or in Fate of the Jedi or Legacy of the Force, we expect you at minimum to like read the books with these characters just so that you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
This is a Sopranos reference because he watched a clip of
But yeah, as to that whole discussion, because that can be a whole thing. I'll probably bring this up again when we get to Traitor in my vastly complicated opinion of Jason. We'll get there when we get there.
Is a very interesting character.
But yeah, like so we're gonna start the discussion on the novel now.
Okay.
So the book basically gives us a recap pretty much of everything we've gone through from like Belkadon all the way to Yagdul. Basically everything that's gone on in the previous books, like how the Vong have advanced, and then it kind of shifts over to Mara and Jaina on their way to help Alima and Numarar at a freighter. And that's when we pretty much get introduced to the Vong checking it out, looking for Jedi, and we finally get introduced to the Voxen, aka the dangerous, terrifying Vong hunters. And here's a hot take. This is gonna like rub some people the wrong way, so I'm just gonna say it outright. The Vong have kind of lost a lot of their horror aspect for me. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just like, oh, you guys made another abomination.
Again?
Okay. Yeah. Now it hunts Jedi. Oh, wow. Okay.
Kind of surprising you didn't do that before.
I think
no, because they have like body horror objects, living weapons, living armor, like things that literally throw moons into planets. Giant world ships with like tentacles and whatnot, like just the basic horrors beyond your comprehension, like exposed skulls and skin getting like stitched together with like piercings. And I'm like, okay, so you guys created a type of like 6-legged dog or something that can hunt Jedi. Okay.
Well, I think part of the reason is that I think Troy Denning is kind of writing in a bit of a different subgenre than the other authors. When Salvatore and Stackpole and Keyes were writing the Vong in their books, I singled them out specifically because they're the ones I remember with this. They try to make the Vong as like horrifying and as like creepy.
Yeah, they went into more gruesome details, and I'm not saying this
is more like an adventure book. It's much more of a like a movie style book. It's not.
Oh, I know, but
the subject matter. This feels very Star Wars. Not that the others don't, but this one feels like something I'd seen in theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
But my point being is like even it's kind of spoiling it a little early, but like even Savong La cuts off his arm and attaches like some sort of new like destructive war machine abomination arm to himself. Same with his legs. Oh, nice, thanks. I don't know who is this? Sorry about that.
Okay.
Dang it, how do I there we go. Take care of that. All right, but anyway, yeah, like basically the like I'm like, oh, you've created another horror. It's like if you watch a bunch of horror movies in succession, eventually like the jump scares and the ripping limbs and whatnot, you're just gonna be like, oh, that's totally fake, goofy, whatever. Well, you become desensitized by it. You don't even care anymore.
And what fresh horrors have you made for us today?
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much it. It's like
to a point in the series though where you've spent 9 books already, and I do think this becomes a bit of a problem because there's 19 books, and I think it kind of runs out of steam in some cases. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I think it's very specifically you're not really meant to be scared of them anymore, specifically because you're used to them now.
Well, it's not just the terror factor that's gone, because again, it's like how like occasionally like when they were fighting the Empire that there was always like some sort of thing that popped up that made you go like, oh wow, this is terrifying, look at this new horror machine. Even like the World Devastators, like that was a horror when it popped out, like Palpatine's galaxy gun, the Sun Crusher. I'm like, oh, there's always some new danger that they have to face.
Naked, the worst part. Sorry, that was my joke for the moment.
No, go ahead.
The new weapon, it's smaller and more powerful than the last time.
Yeah, but I think my point being is like I think I'm kind of used to the Vong by this point because they've been fighting it for what 2-3 years now. So I'm just kind of like, oh, they're decimating another planet's population. Yeah, I'm kind of used to this.
What I think is important to notice about this book is, even while we may be used to it, especially the younger characters in this book, and how much that affects stories moving forward, and how much that affects them. I mean, even in this book, I mean, Alema Rar was mentioned a few times prior in this series, but this is the first time she actually gets somewhat of an arc, and it begins with her like losing her sister gruesomely. You know, so there's.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna pretend that wasn't bad. I felt bad for Alema Rar.
I think it's meant to be more terrifying for the younger generation than it is for the readers.
But yeah, like this whole situation with Alema and Numa, like they had to disguise as like regular like Twi'lek slave girls in hopes of avoiding the Voxen, but the Voxen can still kind of smell them out. I'm not saying it isn't terrifying for the Jedi, because you can genuinely feel their fear. I'm like, oh, the Vong have created a terror that can now hunt Jedi, which again, that is a general. But as far as like being the reader goes, when I look at this, I'm like, I feel terrified for the characters, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, they just made another horror beyond comprehension.
Yep.
Oh god, what's that meme? It's like man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. That's what. But it's like if you've spent like a week at like a museum that has like Cronenberg monsters, and you've pretty much seen all of them, and then they bring in a random new one. You're like, yeah, I saw like a weird brain pus creature like 10 minutes ago that was 10 times scarier than this. So
yeah, that's kind of what I meant by. So, what fresh horror do you have for us today?
It's basic use on. I guess in that sense, use on Vong fatigue. But but beyond that, no. Like see what's.
And the Jedi in universe may have the same feeling in some ways. Like, oh, look what they're doing now. Great.
Yeah, and so I'll move the book on because I had to check my notes for the next plot point. Because again, it's been a week since I read the book, so I need to remember.
Yep.
But basically, Han and Leia are at Bilbringi trying to get a fleet together to counter some of these Vong forces because they've just captured another freighter and they're holding hostages now. And they're like, "Give up the Jedi's location. We'll let the hostages go." And Leia knows at this point, like, these guys are not just going to let these people go. Even if they do let them go, they're as good as dead in like a month or two, because they're just going to get captured and sacrificed again.
Yeah.
So Leia has a threat of her own. She's like, you try making like one of these, propositions again, I'll kill you. I'll have you arrested and kill you myself. Like, it was Leia at this point, she's had it up to here with her own government, like just kind of sitting on their hands, not doing anything about the Vong threat.
Oh yeah.
She's like, I'm done. I'm done with this crap now. Mm-hmm. Like I built this I helped build this republic from the ground up. I helped keep it alive for decades. And now it's just kind of turning its back on the same people that have kept it alive. And she's like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done.
And I
Which I did like.
Here, I love that Denning's kind of the one that makes her, because we had a little bit in Heir to the Empire, a little bit in Dark Empire, but here is kind of the start of Leia embracing her biological father's side of things in terms of being a Jedi and everything.
Mm-hmm. And here it's also interesting that she's, so intent on, trying to push back against the Vong in this, but ironically, her intent to push back the Vong is partially what causes her to lose one of her children.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. Yeah, she may have helped buy them time or protect them, but it's just interesting the cost that comes from that.
Where's the Palpatine meme when you need it?
Yeah.
But well, yeah, like it is interesting that eventually happens, because like it really just kind of shows how much more costly this war is, as compared, like the other ones were costly because I think the first time we had like a major minor major character death was in the Bantam era, and it was Crix Maydeen in Darksaber. That was like the first time any of like the officers from the movies that we saw for sure get iced and killed completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that when you think about, because again, this war has been pretty costly so far. Like the New Republic completely abandoned the Outer Rim, close to abandoning the Mid Rim just to save their own hides. But yeah, I like that Leia's finally done with this, and she's like, okay, you know what? One of the coolest aspects, because I looked a little bit at the BTS of this stuff, and she's meant to be the one to replace Chewbacca in Han's gunner seat, you know, his co-pilot seat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like sorry, I'm just gonna put this one on stage while we're come on. Yeah. Nope, not that one. Sorry. This is getting ridiculous. I literally have to. There we go.
There's two of them.
Lucas is here.
Yeah, Lucas.
He pops up everywhere.
The Jedi and Leia and Han, they all go to the Eclipse place and start discussing the new hostage problem. And is Phalia gonna turn his back on them again, like he has in the past? Because again, like the people in the books are as frustrated with Phalia as I am at this point. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're switching sides again. You're using this political crap as usual to, try to figure out what you can get out of this." Oh yeah, okay.
As I say, every time that he comes up, he is a great character. When people say that they hate Borsk Phalia, they don't mean it as in they hate him because he's a bad character. They hate him because they love to hate him, and because he is
Yeah.
written so well. Like
Yeah,
Draco
and then
Malfoy. Everyone, not Draco. I mean, in the Boy King in Game of Thrones, everyone hates him.
Joffrey.
But not be Joffrey.
Yeah.
But had a mind blank.
I saw a thing, by the way, on that, and the actor, he was like, I actually quit acting for a straight decade
Mm-hmm.
because everybody associated me with that stupid character. So
Yeah,
He
I
did.
saw something
No,
about
he did
that.
come back recently. So
Alex Jonathan, oh, let's see it. Alex and I discovered we were mutual viewers of Koan like you. Yeah, I noticed that, Arthur. Good to see you, by the way. But yeah, basic. So after that sort of little meeting, we get like a little meeting between Nominor, Savang Law, and Vergir, and you can tell like there's a lot of tension there between the three of them. Like Vergir, it feels like she's trying to underhand Nominor, and Nominor's trying to underhand her, and Savang Law is just done with both of their crap.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, I always felt that Nominor gives me the biggest Star Wars Littlefinger vibes in my entire life.
you know what? That's fair. That's very fair. I see that.
Yeah, that's a pretty honest take. Let me see. Hang on, check my notes again. Oh yeah, Han goes with Leia, and they meet an old friend of dang it, I forgot his name, but he was Han's partner in Agents of Chaos. The
Droma.
The rats. Yeah, Droma. He meets like a friend of his for a job to deliver something to Coruscant, and Han specifically because they were supposed to meet with Booster Tarek in the Air Adventure, but they're like, okay, we'll just have to reschedule that for now because this is kind of important. And then when they they discover that one of the freighters is trying to bring Voxen onto Coruscant, right? And they have to alert authorities to stop them from trying to get it on board. So it's like, yeah, it's so yeah, you that's pretty much, you can kind of tell how close the Vong are getting if they can smuggle Vox in via like Peace Brigade people.
Yeah.
But let's see. Oh yeah, and this is the book that introduced another wonderful character, Saba Sabatine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
One of the
Barabel
best female
Jedi, best
characters.
Jedi. I will die on that hill. Barabel Jedi or best Jedi, especially Saba Sabatine. She is such a wise character, and even with like Kip kind of having an outburst, she's like, yeah, he's kind of just hot headed and frustrated, isn't he? And to be fair, I can kind of understand Kip's frustration a little bit in this book, because he feels like Luke himself is still dragging his feet. He's like, we need to find ways to fight the Vong.
Yeah.
How are we doing that if you're just kind of like, all you're doing is moving Jedi, and now we can't even move Jedi because the Vong have developed these Voxen creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Kip's just never wrong. No, I'm just kidding. He has his moments, but I think generally in this series, especially, he's generally in the right. He just doesn't. He doesn't. His behavior doesn't help his case, I think.
He's generally got the right idea, but goes about it the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is that Leia, again, because she's already kind of, yeah, Saba Sabatine is awesome, but she's already kind of tapping out of the New Republic. So she goes to Borsk Phalia one more time. She's like, we have to mount a rescue for these hostages. And Borsk Phalia is still dragging his feet. And so Leia's like, you know what? I'm done. The Voxen were the equivalent. What does that say? Sorry, I can't read it. Where might equivalent of the new Order 6, something like that. Except Order 66 was more effective. The Voxen, like, there were still territories where they couldn't find Jedi because they couldn't get close enough. Like, again, Eclipse Base is where the Maw used to be, so it would make sense that they wouldn't like know how to necessarily find and get there. But
Yeah.
in particular, like Leia's at this point is complete. She's completely done with the Senate. She like straight up. She's like, no, I'm no more politics. Like this already came between my family. I spent years trying to build this up, and now it's turning its back on everybody. So she's like, I'm done. Don't expect any help from me. And of course, Viki Sesh is. She's taking full advantage of every opportunity either Borsk Phalia gives her or anybody else gives her. And this is where we actually get another heartbreaking moment for anybody who's a fan of Young Jedi Knights. Who just popped in? Oh, it's Yiannis, finally. Here we go.
Right, excuse me for that. I've had
It's
some
okay, man. If you were resting, we get it.
Nah,
But basically, we get a heartbreaking moment because and Raynar's pretty much got his head in his hands because Lusa died. One of the Voxen got to her.
Yeah,
That was rough because I really did like Raynar and his little relationship with Lusa. I thought it was cute back in those books.
And it's one of those examples of it worked in this book, but if you had read the Young Jedi Knights, it just enhanced it so much more.
So much.
And it's an example
Yeah.
of Troy Denning
Yep.
understanding the assignment of he knows how to write to the people who've only been reading the adult stuff and who also have been reading everything. He gets how to appeal to both groups real well.
I actually read Young Jedi Knights after I read the New Jedi Order.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a chronological order nut, so I had to do Young Jedi Knights first. So I had to do a double take because I think he grants like a sentence to it before like Raynar kind of grieves over it, and I was like, wait, excuse me? It was like a single said, oh yeah, she died. I'm like, what? What do you mean? It hurts so much.
Yeah, no, that bugged me a lot because I'm like, oh, not Lusa. She was, and I liked Lusa because of what she had overcome. She had kind of overcome her prejudice towards humans and
Mhm.
found like love in this Alderaanian survivor boy.
Although it is
And
a smart move on Denning's part to kill off a more legacy type character from the previous books early
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
That's not a major character,
Yeah.
because he lays groundwork. He lays the
Yeah.
the precedent for him to be able to do it.
Well, yeah,
later.
he's showing that like as
That
much as you
people-
love these characters, they are not infallible,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they're not fully unkillable.
Wasn't
Like
this also the book where we lost Lyric, or was that another one?
I think that might have been a previous one. I can't remember the details, but I know Lyric passed in one of them.
I
But
remember.
anyway, in regards to Luce's death, it was interesting. It's kind of like a last. Hold on
Okay,
one
so
second. 1 second. Excuse me 1 second.
if I am to provide a more, I mean, a less sort of distinguished criticism than Jonathan's here on Star by Star, I think that Star by Star really is a coin flip between characters dying from young Jedi Knights. If I'm being clear right now, as in Denning really just had the cast of young Jedi Knights and almost chose to kill certain characters at random, as in there's so many characters who die on the Merker mission.
Yeah, we're not. Don't worry, we're not there
That's
yet.
how tragic it is to the event. Oh, okay.
the Merker team.
Merker
Oh, here we
team
go.
is
Yeah, the
Suicide
Star Wars
Squad.
Marvel purist says, yeah, so wasn't Denning's choice. Story groups. Yeah, I guess that. I get that. Merker team, Suicide Squad.
Accurate.
Yeah,
Accurate.
No, but the whole thing about the Merker team, like, it could have been something that backfired in Denning's face with all that. Yeah, okay, Lucino, Russ, Stony Wills. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, like a lot of these characters, like it could have been something that backfired, but it honestly ended up working in the narrative's favor. Which, although we're not there yet, we're getting to it. Hang on 1 second. I want to check my notes again because again, I had the flow of this entire. Okay, yeah. So, I forgot exactly what the mission was, but they were sent on a mission to like observe a Vong ship. And then Kip's dozen pops up, and they start getting into trouble, and so they had to help them.
Mm-hmm.
At first, Anakin and them were kind of thinking of actually like leaving Kip and his squadron to die, but they decide to help him out of that situation, which I thought was cool. Even the Barabel Jedi, again, all of Sabatine's apprentices, the Barabel Jedi. I will die on the hill. Barabel Jedi are the best Jedi. That's they're just like much wiser, much smarter. Like, and like even if you talk about like like again like oh gosh, what's the term I'm thinking of here? Even if you talk about like the fact that like when they lose a loved one, they don't necessarily grieve the same way. That's not a weakness. They
Yeah.
pretty much just accept that it was kind of the will of the Force that their loved one died, and they kind of move on and try to honor them. And I can't help but respect that.
Yeah.
It's such a noble thing because every time I see a Jedi, I always see them like oh, they killed my loved one, I got to get angry and turn evil. With the Barabels, it's just like, thank you for your sacrifice, brother. I will make sure to honor. I'm like, yeah, these guys were literally built to be Jedi. Why aren't there more Barabel Jedi? But so I guess Kip in this instance develops a new technique. I don't know how often it's going to be used in the later books, but he basically propels the Force like a missile to take out like Vong ships, and it has to be like concentrated. It's not just the Force. He fires a missile and then he uses the Force to propel it fully into a Vong ship. So it's like,
Give it
that's actually a pretty cool technique.
oomph. Yep.
I'm like, that's a pretty cool technique. Too bad they can't utilize it, 24/7.
It'd be way overpowered if they did it 24/7.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, and I know that this isn't really something that anybody ever seems talked about. When Luke fired the proton torpedo that goes into the Death Star, when you watch it, it curves down into there. It's always been in my head that he uses just a little bit of the Force instinctually to get a last minute course correction into the hole.
Mm.
Because that thing
Seems likely, yeah. Because again,
that thing's supposed to fly straight, and when you watch it, it curves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, again, when he's doing the trench run, he's not even using the targeting computer. He's going based solely on the Force's instinct flowing through him, and so he has to know the exact moment to curve and fire.
But people seem to think that it's just the aiming that the Force gave him, and I stand by. He did something to that missile when it was right over the exhaust port. It wasn't just the Force assisted aiming. He did something to the missile, and I'm saying that because it feels like this is a similar thing.
It's almost like the Force in this regard is like again, it's similar with the Luke situation. It's like a focus and your focus and sheer will made the missile hit the target.
Yep.
It's almost like again, it's almost like telepathy, where you literally like will the missile to be fated to go into like the precise damage point.
Yeah.
And then we get to one of the big moments, and this was one of the moments I literally, while I was listening to it, I literally went, yes, yes, yes. But it was Nama Noor being sent by Sabang Law to sort of preach to the Senate. It's like, give up the Jedi, and we will make peace with you. We will give you these citizens. And Borsk Phalia is like, you know what? They're never going to honor any deal we have with them. It's never going to work. He's like, no. Literally tells him, no.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you time and again. You have not honored deals. Jedi have at least been trying to help us, trying to protect us, and he backs the Jedi. And Viki Sesh tries to warm in politically. What the Supreme Chancellor, or what the Chief of State is trying to say. And he's like, excuse me, do you speak for the Chief of State? No, sit down.
Nope.
I loved that. I absolutely, I'm like, yes, finally you got some balls on you, Borsk Phalia. Finally.
Yep.
Finally, dude.
He just finally puts that energy toward people who deserve it.
He made a slime ball, but he's our slime ball at this point.
Yeah, and he's very. It's mostly the thing with Borsk is it's almost entirely that he's misguided because he's still on the right side. With even all the way back in the Bantam era, he's still on the correct side and stuff. It's just that he has, especially to the readers, the wrong way of handling issues and a very different perspective than, say, our Jedi characters and their view of the Force. But this is skipping ahead slightly, but the way that it's paid off is that you see that he still has value and he still does the right thing, kind of. In the end.
Yeah. No, I'm not debating that in the slightest.
That's why I appreciate him as a character. It's because it makes, even though he made so many mistakes, at least he kind of paid for it well.
Again, I'm not debating that. Yeah. I'm just saying but most of the time, because again, most of the time, like you can have voices of caution or reason. Like you can have voices of caution or reason, but every time Borsk Phalia opened his mouth, it was always like the worst possible caution reason. And again, I understand the side of like he's trying to be more practical with funds and resources and reasoning. I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, if most of the commanding generals think it's a good idea, maybe you should too. That's more politically savvy.
Yeah, but they make but they make a point that the Bothans are hardwired for sneaky and subtlety, and that's part of why Borsk is the way that he is, and why and why we so rarely get to see people like the admiral that that is a Bothan that I know that you love seeing.
Yeah.
Because the admiral Star Trek is not the common thing for a Bothan to do. A Bothan is trained to see the sneakiness and the slyness as the positive, as the positive traits to have. So when he sees somebody else who is being straightforward with their stuff, he thinks that they have other motives that they are not showing. So like when he'd see Admiral Akbar actually be forthright about what he thinks is the right thing to do, he thinks that he's going to be hardwired to think that Akbar is doing something in that he just can't see.
Yeah, no, that's again, like that's Borskvalia thinks like a politician, but even a politician can make wise calls. And
Yeah.
again, if he's seen how well things work out for the Jedi time and again, how well they've worked out for generals that like like Wedge Antilles and whatnot, and how it's followed through. So I find it shocking to see him still on the opposite end of the political spectrum from them, knowing full well, wait a minute, these ponies have won multiple times. Why am I not backing them?
That's why I was pointing out that his mindset being so hardwired into the sneaky stuff. It's not just political stuff. It's that he's hardwired to see motives where there aren't necessarily motives. That's why he's not doing the full political thing where he is backing the right horse now, because it hasn't been about it hasn't been about politics. It's been about a very different mindset that he has.
It's very much his worldview, even if the practical thing would be to, give up his worldview for a moment. He's so entrenched in it that he's like, no, I've gotta stick with this.
Well, he did a nice little 180, which I absolutely loved.
At
but,
the end, yeah.
But well, even now he kind of took a little 180 because he's pretty much backing the Jedi at this point. And this is when Vicky Sesh starts talking with Savang Law about the concept of assassinating Borskvalia, so someone more practical can go into office. And what's interesting, I love the way this is interpreted in the book. Savang Law specifically calls Vicky Sesh just Vicky, and to her, she's like, "Oh, he's kind of thinking me in a more personal way. Maybe he wants me as a concubine or something like that." Like, because again, she's one of those, and again, most of the Kuat people are like this. They're attracted to power. It genuinely wouldn't surprise me if Palpatine back in the day had at least one or two Kuat concubines. But basically, she's kind of like got that mindset. But because Vicky he only refers to Vicky by her first name, in Vong culture, because they're not using the full name, like the full straight up, got the term name or whatever. It's actually a sign of disrespect. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
It's using the diminutive. Would be
he looks at her as a lesser and like not even worthy of relations, lesser, like, oh, you're a rat. But you're not even a rat worth stepping on. And I'm like, oh, that is I'm like, oh honey, you are so misunderstanding him. Does anyone wonder? Oh, hang on. Let's see what we got here.
What happened? Oh God.
What?
You're reading Junior
What?
Jedi Knights, Young Jedi Knights, and then learning about what happens to Anakin. Oh,
There are
that would be
plenty of
rough.
people like
That
that.
would be so rough.
Especially stuff that hasn't happened yet, as far as Jason goes. Yee.
Yeah, and then so after that, they eventually end up hosting Borskfalia because Lando and Tendra have developed something that's absolutely beautiful. Probably the biggest insult to the Yuzon Vong you could ever create, which is a machine that hunts them. The the YVH assassin droids.
The
Yeah.
Terminators in Star Wars.
Well, they're Terminators, but they all have Lando's voice, which I find
Yeah.
is even better.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
those added later.
No, but like I absolutely love that, and it's funny that it came from Lando Calrissian. I'm like, this is why I love this man. This is
Oh,
this
yeah,
is why this guy is.
Lando is great.
And anytime Lando's involved in a situation, it's like it just goes down smoother. Like, and Borskvela, he's like, I got to look at these, and so he takes a look at them, and right in the middle, like right after their trial, they're like, Yuzon Vong Lando equals Skynet. Hang on, Lucas, I gotta pop that up there.
Yeah.
But basically, while in the midst of that meeting, you have like Han and Leia and Luke there. Suddenly, the Vong hunters start firing on Borskfalia's own security forces because it turns out they're Vong in disguise, wearing Ugalith masters. And so, like, okay, so these work.
Yep.
It's funny how Mark Thompson's voice is bought. Yeah, I've gone through most of his audiobooks, so frankly, I always imagined like Borskfalia as almost having like a like cold, sophisticated voice, but the way the Bothans are portrayed in the audiobooks is just funny.
Just imagine in the political doublespeak coming from the Bothan voice.
Are we sure that's a good idea?
One thing I wanted to quickly point out that I forgot to at the beginning was that in the paperback edition of the book, it starts out with the short story Recovery. It's almost like a novella.
Yeah.
Recovery. I didn't realize it was a novella, and so I start reading it, and I'm like, man, this prologue is really long. I was like, this is like an 80-page prologue. And then I flipped the book around and was like, oh, that's a short story. But if you include the recovery as part of it, then Star by Star is longer than both of the Edge of Victory books combined.
Yep.
Yeah, but like in particular, let's see what someone was thinking of. In particular, so after Borskfalia knows when he says, and then he asks Lando, okay, so when can we do mass production for these? He's like, okay, this is going to take some time and credits. Like, I thought you'd do it free. He's like, no, this is still business.
Right.
But I think he did give a few free, which I thought was nice. Yeah, Star by Star is a pretty thick book, Andres. It's again, in particular, the paperback version, because it has Recovery in the front, which I always thought it was weird that Recovery was in the front.
Yes, because
most short stories are in the back.
And I think that's because this time the short story takes place before, and a lot of times the short story takes place after. And so I assume that's why they did it that way in this one, because they didn't want you reading it and being confused in the timeline. But yes,
Andres, just ask Jonathan what the longest EU book it knows. I'm pretty sure it's Star by Star.
No, Vision of the Future is 219,000 words. The second place is Star by Star with 204,000, and then third
Oh,
place.
okay.
And then third place is Lesser Evil, which has 170,000, and everything else was way below.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
But
And I got that
Even
from
without
Tom.
recovery, Star by Star is still pretty thick.
Yeah,
Especially
it's
Star
big.
Wars books.
Yeah.
The Star by Star have the largest page count, though, I think.
No, it's Vision of the Future is still longer page
Oh,
wise.
okay.
But yeah, we find out in a meeting in the aftermath of what happened that Lyric died. So okay, Lyric does die. Sorry, I had to check my notes to be sure, but Lyric does die in this book. For what Ganner Raiso just came back from a mission, and at least for the moment, Koran Horn is missing, so they don't know where he is. And so Anakin and them come up with Luke and Anakin come up with this plan about going to find out where the main Voxen are coming from. And I think they actually already tracked it to Mirker because some experiments they did on some of the Voxen they captured from the Coruscant part. And in particular, Anakin is Luke seems like the first possible candidate to do this job, but the belief is that if Luke is involved, the Vong will get wind of it and they'll move the Voxen Queen. So Anakin gets it, is like, you've got to put me in charge. I'll deal with this. I'll take care of it. And Han is completely against it and mind you, by this point, he and Han have already kind of worked out their differences over what happened with Chewie. They've already gone over it, and he's scared for his son. But Anakin's like, you have to believe in me, Dad. You have to believe that Uncle Luke can't do this. I've got to be the one to do this. And of course, Jason and Jaina tag along, and everybody from Young Jedi Knights tag along, including Raynar. Yep. So it was Tahiri has obviously got Anakin's back because they're kissy lovey dovey.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to have this full complement. And there's a few other Jedi, including Ganner Raiso, because again, if you recall, at the beginning of the book series, I did not like Ganner Raiso because of his evil. But sorry, not his evil, but his ego. But after he got that scar, he kind of matured, and so I'm like, oh, okay, so he understands that Anakin is sort of like a bigger symbol, so he's letting him take the lead, even though he's leagues older and should be more experienced. But it's cool. It's cool. So yeah,
I think there's a really good arc in this series of books, Danner. For somebody who only
he absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's Danny Sab. I keep forgetting the name of the other Jedi. It's Lyle or something like that. The one who's got the salt addiction. But they're trying to pick up a Yamosk symbol, I think, over Arcania, because there's two fronts being attacked by the Vong. It's Arcania and then Risi, and they're trying to crack the code of the Yamosk. I guess they're trying to figure out what its signal is, so they can find a way to disrupt it and disrupt Vong forces, which is always a good idea because it's a nice new tactic and a way to adapt.
Yeah, anytime you can taking out a Yamosk is going to help.
So I guess Sabang La and Vergier started playing Dejarik, and Namanor does not like. Oh, I forgot to mention, Namanor had to escape Coruscant because he was absolutely humiliated. He was absolutely humiliated by Borsk Phalia at the Senate, and I think I'm not sure if it was this time or a later time. He's almost arrested. I think it's around this time. But Danny Quee, the Yamosk Hunter Jedi, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I'm actually starting to like Danny Quee a bit, even though she's just kind of like a background Jedi character. I'm starting to like her little
despite what
analysis
I said earlier,
theory.
She's a pretty decent character. I have such a bias because it upsets me that Jason is not what Tino called at the beginning of the
Yes.
series. But besides that, he's a
Hey,
decent
this
character.
book
It's
makes
okay.
up for it. This
Yeah,
book
they make
makes
up
up
for
for
it.
it because they have an intimate moment here or there.
Well, she's the necessary scientist needed in New Jedi Order, who's the one to explore the vault.
Okay, I'm gonna
Find
put that one
counters
because
to it.
that's just too funny not to put up. But yeah, basically, yeah. So Savang Law pretty much gets tired of Nominor and Vergir arguing all the time about who's got the best one-upment. So he's like, you know what? You two are going to work together. We already know that the Jedi are going to slip spies over. I need you to, basically I need you to go over there and make sure everything stays hunky dory with the Voxen Queen, so we can continue to have our Jedi hunters. Yeah, it is a shame that her trilogy got canceled because I think that would have been interesting to see. Hot blondes in Star Wars always a good idea. Yeah, pretty much. But the whole gosh, I keep missing my train of thought. But anyway, so basically the ruse is how they get into Vong territory is Lando and Tendra bring them in, and they make it look like a betrayal. They kind of put on a show for the Vong where they make it look like the Jedi were betrayed. And, you know, all the kids know we might face death and torture and imprisonment. So they know the stakes. They know what's about to go down. And so, you know, Lando and Tendra, like, you can tell they're reluctant to do this, but at the same time, they kind of play their part. They sneak the lightsabers in with the Vong hunters that kind of, I think they attached to the ship, and that's how they ended up doing the eventual rescue. But, yeah, hang on. I think Guri might be the hottest of blondes. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, maybe it's not yet, but so Nominor goes before the Senate, and this time Vicky Sesh is like more adamant against him, and pretty much at this point, Borsk Phalia, he manages to get evidence that fully exposes that the Vong have no interest or intention, and he gasses the entire Senate to knock everybody out, including Vicky, because again, they've got to keep up the ruse that she's still on the side of the New Republic. And Vicky pretty much kind of plays the part of the wounded senator who's like, I can't believe I ever trusted them too, you know? But yeah, that was basically what happened in the Senate. And it was nice to see Phalia humiliate him again.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Oh, and from that meeting, they find out. From that meeting, they find out that God, what's the term I'm looking for here? They find out that Jason and Jaina are twins, and this sets Nominor off majorly
because it's a big deal to them that they have.
Well,
twins.
there's not very many twins in Vong society because typically one twin kills the other, and that sort of balances things out. But twins are, I guess, considered holy and sacred among the Vong. And so they get the idea to the idea is that because they know that the Jedi are going to infiltrate, like Savang Law is pretty much figuring all this out. He knows that the Jedi children are going to infiltrate. He pretty much says, yeah, you can kill everybody else, but you need to bring me Jason and Jaina alive, because the only way we're going to take Coruscant is to appease the gods by sacrificing the twins. You know, in his twisted Vong mind, that's how things work.
It's for the gods.
Yeah, it's
Glory
kind of funny
to the
that
gods.
Not only are twins so rare for the Vong, but they're so common for for our characters that we have not only Luke and Leia being twins, but then Leia's two children being twins. That must really rub the Vong, like, it's like what? Like one pair is
Maribels are
two?
triplets, so
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, and I absolutely love this, is that it's giving the shamed ones among the Vong a sense of hope, because like oh, oh my god, I forgot his name, but who was the one that Vua Rapuing, the one that Anakin redeemed, the one that because he redeemed his honor. So like the fact that the Jedi are now coming in pairs, it's pretty much like the shamed ones are like, oh yes, glory to the gods, they've brought us salvation in the form of the Jedi. We can't kill the Jedi now, and that's not good for Supreme Overlord Shimra's plans. So because I know his visions are coming from another source because I know where they're coming from. But I guess we get the Aaron Venture, and Corran Horn is fine, and they end up. I think they end up going to. I'm not sure if they go to Eclipse Base or not. It's been a while. I need you to get an eye on the twins for me and give it to the executive. Oh, which one? The normal or the venomous one? Shut up, creep bird. Okay. But yeah, okay, so let me check notes. Okay, so yeah, the Jedi start to get tortured while they're on that Vong ship. And what's interesting is the Vong employ that one tactic where it's like, you need to tell me where the Jedi base is. Because if you don't, I'm not going to torture you. I'm going to torture this person or your brother. They break you by torturing somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you care about them. Which again, as far as like I guess the warrior in me kind of respects that tactic, but at the same time, it's still very barbaric. Lucas Nominor says, "Shut up before you become some." Nice. That's very nice, Alex. You will become KFC familiar if you don't shut your yapper.
Guys, unfortunately, I have to head out. I'm sorry, I have to leave early.
Yeah.
But
No, it's fine, man. We already knew that you might have had to tap out.
So talk to
It
y'all
was
later.
very nice meeting you.
Talk later.
Good to meet
Later,
you.
Jonathan.
Fun time.
Yeah. All right, so let me check.
And then there were 4.
Yes, and then there were 4. So let's see. The torture. Sorry, hold on. I just want to check something real quick. Make sure I got this all good.
So far, I feel the first half of Star by Star is really partly a political thriller, within how much it actually focuses on the internal politics of the New Republic and Borskfelia and all the other goings on within the Senate. And
No.
An action thriller in the second half.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of making that shift, which I do like, because the political thriller half kind of gives it the build up for the action half, and we're kind of getting a little to that because at this point, Kip Duran's like, "Oh, we gotta rescue these other Jedi. You know, your kids are there," and Han pretty much plain straight tells him, "Is like, no, Kip, we can't tell you unless you swear loyalty to Luke." Which he's like, "Okay, fine. I'll." He reluctantly does it, but he does swear loyalty to Luke, and then they let him know let him in on the plan about how they're gonna send a team in to kill them and hunt the Voxen Queen, which is great plan. Hopefully it works, and the Vong aren't 2 steps ahead of them. But this means Kip has to take orders from someone like Corran Horn, which he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Kentucky Fosh Chicken. So the strike team does eventually escape, and Jason accuses Anakin of egging Ulaha to attack one of the Vongs during the escape, like during the tortures and the escapes, and he's like, you could have led him to the dark side by doing that. And Anakin's like, you know what? You need to knock it off. You need to you need to stop. Even though I think Jason is in the right, at the same time, I also do feel he's getting a bit annoying with how much he's like, yo, you can't do anything at all without, unless it leads to the dark side. And I'm like, give me a break, dude. Give me a break. No, like, and Anakin pretty much tells him, no, I didn't order him. And even Yulaha pretty much tells, no, like, that was my choice. And Jason, like he kind of realizes, he's like, by doing this, I have questioned my brother's authority. And he's supposed to be the leader of this team. It's going to split the team if I don't start cooperating from this. So he does kind of start cooperating a bit after this point.
So yeah, Jason does the honorable and mature thing in the situation right there.
John.
Listen to his younger brother.
Sorry, Scott's in the chat. Let's say hi.
Oh, Scott, Josh.
Yeah.
It's star-studded cast tonight. Nice to see Jonathan. Yeah, he just left. He had to go. Leave a little early. But basically, we get some intimate moments with the team at this point. Like, Raynar was eyeing up Errol, which I was like, dang, Luce's corpse isn't even cold yet, dude. Seems, I get it. It was supposed to be kind of like a fallback. Because maybe Denning felt a little bad for Raynar, and he needs some comfort somewhat. And then there's also a nice little moment between Tenel Ka and Jason, and she's like, you've got to stick to your principles, but at the same time you got to have your brother's back, because it seems now like you've questioned his leadership a little too much.
Yeah,
and he's like, yeah, probably. I really need to work through my stuff now. But at the same time, you also have Jaina and Zek talking, and the book seems to imply that there's a bit of a denial for those past feelings that they have now. But part of me still thinks something is there. As a matter of fact, I think that becomes a plot point in one of the later books. We'll see when we get there, but
does.
And then one of the Barabels, I forgot his name, Tassar, encounters another Voxen on the ship, because by this point in the ship they've broken out and they've wiped out most of the Vong, except for like the I think maybe the shamed ones, the ones that actually helped them. But there's still one Voxen left on the ship.
Have we mentioned that the Barabels are all carrying like these like automatic like blaster rifles and just blasting their way through the ship? Or
no, I kept forgetting that detail, but that is a good detail. Like these aren't your traditional Jedi. They actually feel a bit more like, for anybody who's read the Coruscant Night books, Grey Paladins. Yeah, Grey Paladins were the members of the Jedi Order that used weapons other than lightsabers. Like they would use, light whips and blasters and, electro staffs, that sort of thing. Tassar is a crazy lizard hunter boy. Really, yeah, he is. Tassar is fantastic.
It's something I'm thinking of Luke's orders, that they're willing to use like a whole bunch of stuff. Like they'll have blasters on their hips, they'll have other things ready to go. They don't just use the lightsaber. So I think it's
cool. No, they kind of have to adapt to the harsher galaxy.
Yeah.
So they finally arrive at Merkur. Anakin senses more Jedi presence, and then Nominor warns them, is like, you guys better surrender. In which case they go through this really big, I guess, sort of space battle. I forgot to mention, the Vong hunters were instrumental in the rescue. So I think one or two of them goes down to the planet when they eventually start crash landing. Did they go on escape pods or missile pods? I can't remember. But I know they went into like some sort of like Vong flesh pods that got them down on the surface. And Ulahar stays on the main ship and starts retreating, but of course, Ulahar does not make it. Ulahar dies. They actually feel Ulahar go in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And Ulahar wasn't that big of a Jedi character, but it was still interesting. Still kind of interesting to see the weird sort of like link and connection they had in the Force. And then just they suddenly feel them die because I guess they imagined Ulahal was like singing before they died.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, not all the old Jedi used were. What does that say? Hang on, I gotta put that on stage. Used weapons. Not a surprise they get extinct. But yeah, like. So they start going deeper into the Vong nest.
Mm-hmm.
And they find it was Lomi, Plo, and Welk, and they were Shadow Academy survivors. And the reason they know that is because Zex with them is like, oh yeah, I remember you two.
Yeah.
The new generation of Night Sisters, which apparently includes Night Brothers. Hey, another thing Dave Filoni stole.
It's interesting how I think the Yuzhang Vong chose Mercure as the setting for, I guess, the base of the Voxing Queen, even though that's where they actually originate from. It's a planet which is very much steeped in nature and, had few human inhabitants beforehand. And so
Yeah.
it's fascinating how they gravitate towards those planets, which of course reflects their own culture.
Yeah. I mean, if you like
what I find
not
interesting
having
is like
technology around, you're going to go towards areas that don't have as much tech.
Mm-hmm.
well, it was the way it kind of reminded me a little bit of when the collectors would land in Mass Effect 2. And they would take like an entire colony, but they wouldn't leave. They would actually just colonize the planet themselves. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
The split order of the Dark Forces, Jedi Knight, the ones who use weapons other than their lightsabers. Yeah. But let's see, what am I thinking of here? So yeah, they then we get to this big which I was loving every second of this one, this big epic battle that was coming up when they were going to go rescue the refugee ships. And it had Luke's Jedi forces with New Republic forces from Tras Krefi. They had two ships titled the Mon Mothma, two Star Destroyers titled Mon Mothma and the Elagos Akla.
Yep.
And then, of course, Kip's Dozen, and it was like a nice little surprise attack.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Star Destroyer called the Mon Mothma. Think about that.
Oh yeah, I just saw a note that like brought up an interesting tactic. So, Luke and Mara kind of go low in when they hit one of the Vong cruisers, and Kip Duran kind of wants to hit it, but Luke says no, you need to pull back. You know, your forces aren't enough. And Kip's obviously disappointed because he wants to hit a big Vong target. He wants to be big hero again. But in this particular instance, what's the term? They had a good reason because one of the Star Destroyers had gravity wells. And they managed to use it to sort of like tear apart the Vong forces that were trying to flee.
Yeah.
Which
I like the interdictors.
Well, here's the thing: they're not using an interdictor in this book. They actually develop a Star Destroyer that doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't look like it was like a new technology that they were able to kind of figure out. But because most interdictors they have like those bubbles that pretty much show that they have gravity well.
Oh yeah.
They managed to do it where they didn't have the bubbles, and so it wasn't it wasn't like an obvious giveaway. So when the Vong tried to retreat after this big defeat, after they started like rescuing the civilians, um, they got a surprise pull back into the system.
Oh yeah. I was
So
just more
the
saying that
Jedi, Kip's Dozen, and the New Republic just mopped up their remaining forces there.
Yeah, I was more saying that I just love the interdictor style combat. That wasn't necessarily talking about the interdictors themselves. Yeah.
So
Funny
of
with
course,
hyperspace.
Savang La is not happy about this in the slightest. So he's like, "Okay, I've got to escalate my plans for attacking Borlias and Risi because I need to ensure." And this is about the time I mentioned in the novel where he's getting like some of his limbs chopped off
Mm.
and replaced with like a different new fleshy limb. And he's the hope he has is that he doesn't get necrosis, so he doesn't get rejected by the gods, basically. Because the second you start getting necrosis, that means you're rejected.
Yeah.
And so then we cut back to so I'm reading off my notes, just trying to remember a lot of these details here. And we cut back to the mission, and they start spying on Nominor and Vergir, trying to find a way to find the Voxen Queen. And Vergir is 100% aware of their presences. She stares at them and even smiles in their direction. She's like, "All right." So it's interesting to see. Is she on their side? Is she not on their side? What's going on there? And even Jason is like, "I think she's aware of us."
Bergier
And of
is on
course,
Bergier's side.
yeah, and of course, Lomi Welk and Lomi and Welk, Zek is having issues with them because Anakin pretty much agreed to have them on the team for the purpose of having extra units now that Ulahar's dead
Mhm.
to help take out the Voxen Hive and the Voxen Queen. And he is not in agreement with their methods on how they deal with the Vong and how they deal with the Voxen because, like, the agreement was they were not to use the dark side. Savang Law. There we go. Let me see this. Those infidels are using lifeless imitations of our Dovin basils against us now. Wait. And imitations of us too. Oh yeah, the Yuzon Vong hunters. And yeah, sadly, most of the Yuzon Vong hunters that they bring on the mission get taken out pretty early, which bugs me because I would have loved to have seen more of them in action.
It's all the quippy one-liners.
The Dark Jedi teammate's part, yeah.
I'm sure the Dark Jedi won't backfire in any possible way.
Oh,
Of
gee,
course-
yeah, tell me about it.
Not. Of course not.
But yeah, no. So Jason, I guess, has an opportunity to take out Nominor and Vergir, and he chooses not to because he believes Vergir is a Jedi or on their side based on reports they heard. So Raynar knows it. They're too OP to be alive long. Don't be spoiling anything for me, Lucas. I'm still not at Dark Nest. And that was an interesting ability, is that Jason was able to start controlling some of the regular Voxens so they don't just like have to deal with the constant random attacks every so often. And time again, he keeps trying to apologize to Anakin for doubting his leadership. And Anakin's just like, talk to me about it later. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Because he's wanting to stay on mission, on point.
Yep. And whenever someone says "talk to me later" about important things like that, you know that that is not a good sign.
Not necessarily.
something's going to happen. Maybe good, but maybe really bad, maybe not as bad, but something's going to happen. Just
So,
saying.
sorry, don't worry about it. So, Phalia tries to get the Jedi to back him up. In particular, he. Let me think here. Yeah, he. Sorry, let me look at my notes again. I want to make sure I get this correct. Oh yeah, that's right. Now I remember what he did. So basically, when the assassination attempt happened, Vicky tries to have Phalia removed from power because she thinks he's unfit. And then he talks about the assassination attempt, and then he shows holograms of Wedge and Garmvel Iblis. He's like, by the way, these were two people that saw the attempt on my life because they were at that meeting when they were doing the Yuzon Vong Hunter thing. And you guys know they don't agree with me on a lot of things, but they're backing me on this play. We are attacking the Vong. We are going to war with them. So again, she pretty much gets her defeat in the Senate, and he pretty much tells her, "Go ahead. You want to try to get the votes to knock me out of office? Go right ahead. Let's see you try." And that pretty much ends her bid to become chancellor, and so she's pretty much out of options at this point.
Yeah,
she's pretty much only got one option at this point.
So
yeah. So Savang Law gets orders to invade Borli, like full orders to invade, like not to worry about the defeat they just had with the hostages. He says, "You need to." He gets orders from Supreme Overlord Shimra. You need to attack them, regardless of whether or not you have the Solo twins. He says, "Well, you can ensure their sacrifices later, but for now, you need to focus on taking Coruscant," which we're getting to. And at this point, on the mission to Merker, even Jaina kind of has doubts about some of the stuff Anakin is doing. Because he's even though I want him to succeed, at the same time, he's kind of got a bit of an ego on him. Young kid ego, mind you. And he's getting a little too overconfident. And then they find an abandoned AT-AT that they plan to use. Where the attempt on my life has left me scarred. But yeah, they find an AT-AT and they start getting attacked by these like little gnat flies, and I forgot the name of the Rhodian Jedi, but he gets stung by one, and he starts like boiling up, and Anakin's just kind of beating himself up over it because he's like, these Jedi are in my charge. And then as the Vong Force, sorry, I'm shifting back and forth from what happened in the chapters. But as the Vong forces start moving forward, the Errant Venture, which by the way still has some of the Jedi on it, some of the Padawans and whatnot, is being attacked. And there was a mistake Koan almost makes, I believe. Hang on. Oh yeah, that's right. He dumps the escape pods of the Padawans into I'm not sure where, but I think they get picked up by some Jedi or New Republic forces. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank at this point. I'm trying to remember where this was. Oh, that's right. Now I remember, because I think they're at Borlius right now, and they make it absolutely very clear because when the Errant Venture arrives with those kids and the pods, he also arrives with the remnant of the forces from Risi. So Risi fell to the Vong. So now there's there's nothing really like, even if they can hold Borlius, there's nothing really stopping the Vong from getting to Coruscant now because Risi fell. And so they're like, okay, now we need to re-scramble forces. We need to try to halt the invasion as much as possible. Let's see. All right, and then Danny Kui tries to capture a Yamos for study so they can actually figure out how the thing works and figure out how to disrupt its signal. And then Anakin's team starts. Anakin's team starts. God, I am just drawing a blank today. Sorry, I gotta look at. Son of a.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Anakin's team goes further into the nest, and it's sad because they kind of have to pass by a ton of the slaves that like help us, rescue us. You gotta get us out of here. And there's nothing really he can do for them because that's not the mission. And then I think it's roughly about this point they get attacked. Yeah, there's Yuzon Vong imposters in the crowd, and it actually costs the life of two more members of the team, Errol and Joven. Errol, I think, got grabbed by, I think Joven got stabbed or something. By the way, that was the Rhodian. But Errol, I think she got ripped apart by more of the Voxen because of the imposters in the crowd. So it's Anakin is losing teammates left and right, and it's not good. So
this can go hard on him because he's still a young kid and he's feeling the weight on his shoulders, and it's crushing him because he's responsible for the lives of others.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot of responsibility.
Plus, he was also injured during that attack too. So, and he does actually have like a side injury. I think either one of the amphistaffs pierced him or one of the Voxen bit him or something like. But he's genuinely injured. And then let's see. Vicky plants a bug in the Soul's apartment. Yeah, that's something that's minor detail.
I think one of the craziest things this book is just the fact, like, if you take the Clone Wars into account, I mean, Anakin was like, an adult when that happened. But if you look at like Jedi Quest, where like he has a couple of adventures and stuff with Obi-Wan when he's younger, but nothing he goes through in that is anywhere near what these kids have to deal with at the same age. So it's just kind of crazy.
That is an interesting point because Anakin went through some stuff when he was young. He got back into like the slave trade and whatnot because he was captured by that one guy that captured a bunch of people from Tatooine like a decade ago when he was a kid.
Yeah,
but like maybe not even a decade ago, but something like that within that range.
Even Luke. I mean, he started episode 4 at 18. So I mean, everything that these kids and these are high school age. Some of them are maybe late middle school. Like when you're dealing with Anakin and Tahiri, and the brutality and the violence. And this is way worse than the Clone Wars. The things they have to endure. I mean, to not be scarred and affected by that after the fact. I mean, you'd have to be like a deity to like.
What's okay? So only money. So what happens here is that like Anakin and crew they're still moving and he's injured. They've just lost 2 more people. I think Raynar's a little loopy at this point. And then thing on it's Han and Leia's POV. Leia can actually feel that Anakin is injured and she's worried about him, and Han's like, no, we gotta have faith in our kid. And at the same time, they have to take, like, I guess, a secret route from Coruscant to Risi, so they can try to lead a bunch of, like, New Republic forces in an attempt to take it back. And I guess only one of the admirals, Admiral Sove or something, he sends some troops, but it's not enough. It's not enough to hold the Vong.
Mm-hmm.
So Anakin starts blaming himself. You know, he's still majorly injured. And Jaina tries to cheer him up over what happened, over losing more teammates. Jason finally gets the opportunity he wants to apologize, but ultimately it's too much because both Errol and Joven's body were taken by Voxen, so he's like, oh great, we can't even give them proper Jedi burials because they were just taken for food.
Yeah.
So yeah, naturally Anakin is upset. And then Barabel, one of the Barabels, one of the sisters, Bella, dies.
It's not a fun time.
No, it is absolutely not fun.
Bella. I think it's Bella which dies, right?
Yeah, it was Bella. And then Raynar himself almost gets killed trying to save Errol's body. So I'm like, dude, she's gone. That's just meat now. I don't mean to be harsh, and I know that's your friend, but like still.
But he's also like a teenager, so I can't really put it against him. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of stress.
Oh, well, they all are, especially Anakin, who has to lead an entire team of one adult and mostly teenagers.
So I'm just saying that they're all going to process it all differently. So in his
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
the best way to like stay sane is I'll save this person, even if it's fruitless.
The sad part is that they pretty much have to go through the Voxen tunnels because it may be a shortcut. Poor lizard mates, yeah. It may be a shortcut to the Voxen Queen's headquarters. So it's like, oh, yeah. And Jason, this entire time, has to try to keep them off of them, so he has to focus on controlling the beasts. And I think what's even harder is, like, everybody is trying to get Anakin to do a healing trance. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I just need to keep going. And I'm like, dude, if I go into a healing trance, it will take too long. I won't be able to lead the team. I need to keep going. And even Tahiri wants him to take a healing trance because she's genuinely worried about him.
Yep. Yeah, and perhaps it's that ego that we talked about previously. That ego because he doesn't want to seem weak in front of his own team. If he's the leader and he's the one in the healing trance, he doesn't necessarily appear like a strong leader to them, and that perhaps gives him doubts about doing it.
Well, it makes sense he would have doubts about doing it because again, he was the one that like spearheaded this whole operation, so he's genuinely like I'm getting my team killed. I need to make this count for something.
Yeah, at this point, I don't even think it's really to do with ego. I think it's more he's just so stressed out about everything. He's already lost.
Well, the ego at this point is kind of faded away because he's starting to understand the consequences of his actions. And
correct.
Here's the most interesting part. Everybody was surprised when the big event happens. I'll talk about it in a bit, but this is kind of foreshadowing it the entire time.
Yeah, it's just injury
like
after
I was,
injury after injury. So
yeah, I'm like he keeps sustaining injury after injury, and he keeps pushing forward. I'm like, this kid is gonna kill himself. Even if he doesn't like get killed by a Vong, he's gonna pass out and die from that. I'm like, there's only, especially a kid so young, there's only so much your body can take before it completely gives out.
Definitely foreshadowing. The only reason, I mean, I think the book is explicitly trying to tell you that this is going to happen. It's inevitable. The only reason you would be surprised is simply because it's Star Wars. It's like, it's one thing to kill off Chewbacca, but to kill a child, would they go that far? I think it's the only thing that would keep people guessing.
Yeah, so like they go a little further in. Yeah, a sec. They go a little further in, and they're being pursued by Vong. So they have to be, not only do they have to be fast and careful, but they have to make sure the Vong don't catch up on. Which this whole operation was your idea. so, so yeah, Anakin or Jaina is stressing about Anakin's decision and also worried about him. Tahiri wants him to believe in himself. Jason is just trying to be a good older brother and get his back, even if he doesn't necessarily agree with some of his methods. It's just the situation is just getting darker and darker. At one point, in order to distract the Voxen, they actually have to sacrifice Bella's body.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those situations that gets worse and worse and worse. And Anakin, Anakin actually gets surprised by another Voxen over feeling guilt over losing more teammates, and not Krasov, but what's the other one? Actually, yeah, it was Krasov. The other
Krasov.
sister actually has to help, and she ends up getting her face burned by Voxen venom. Using Bella's body as a distraction. But yeah, it wasn't just Bella's body like Krasov. And Krasov, after getting burned, eventually decides to stay behind and sacrifice herself. Like she holds on to a grenade, and even this is what I was talking about. How like Tassar was like, don't dishonor her sacrifice by not moving forward, basically. Because the Voxen, not the Voxen, but the Varabel Jedi, they know where it's at, especially when it comes to like straight up, like we know what's expected of us. We knew when we joined this that there was a chance we might not make it out alive. There's like absolutely no doubt in them, and that's one thing. Another reason why I absolutely think that Jedi Barabel are best Jedi. Voxen are basically xenomorph like Jedi hunt. Yeah, pretty much. Except I think the xenomorphs are slightly more intimidating because they walk on. Oh, actually, maybe the Voxen are a little more intimidating because they have like 6 legs instead of 2.
Big beasts.
But yeah, Raynar is injured. Welk continues to use the dark side, and Jason, or not Jason, but both Jason and Anakin pretty much have to pull Zek off of him because like, hey, you pretty much made a promise you're not supposed to, and we're losing, and like, Welk, I get where he's coming from. He's like, you're losing people left and right. If I don't use the dark side, none of us are going to make it to the Queen alive. But at the same time, like, you got to use what tools you can inevitably use in this situation. I'm like, most of these characters have pretty much sworn to uphold the light side, and mind you, Alima Rar is kind of edging to the dark side a bit herself, because not just because of her sister's loss, but because she's like trying to justify what Welk and Lomi are doing. It's not so much with Anakin, but it's definitely with Alima Rar.
Yeah, I think another thing, just like in real life, the insane stress that you'd be under in this sort of situation, but like these are Force users, so it's hard not to pull into the dark side. But then also, this series as a whole, with the Vong being beings outside the Force, it pulls into question the idea of light side and dark side in the first place. And I think these kids are also, maybe subconsciously thinking, like, I mean, we're really fighting things that don't even seemingly exist in the Force. So, like, maybe our whole, like, religious system is false anyway. So,
that's kind of the lie you get entrapped by, if you know what I mean.
No, I know. I'm just saying that also is a part to play in that being more willing to use that here.
Yeah. But that's kind of the lie and the trap you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. goes to show, even though hashtag Kip was right, Luke wasn't wrong for worrying about Jedi falling to the dark side, being hesitant throughout the series. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I like the duality of this book series. Is like Kip is more
Nuance.
like we need to take. It does add a nuance to the discussion. Kip is saying, we need to take action, but at the same time, he's not thinking about his actions. Whereas Luke is being cautious, but he might be being a little too cautious.
Yeah, there's a middle ground that's not being met.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like the one thing that the old Jedi had correct was that, like, definitely more master class than yeah, whatever. But anyway, the one thing that I think they're at least the old Jedi kind of got correct is that they were able to kill without, like, being cold about it. Like, obviously, whenever they had to take a life, they instantly regretted it because, like, I wish there was another. They genuinely even to just have that sense of morality kind of makes a Jedi better because, like, I didn't want to kill that person, but I was left no choice. If there was another alternative, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
It's that reluctance that actually kind of determines who's good and who's bad. Like, if you kill and you have no remorse, that's a bad thing. If you kill and you have remorse, that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you want to kill people. You're given the choice, and sometimes you have no choice. But you have to take that sort of necessary step. And when the war ends, you don't keep killing. Matter of fact, you're finally happy to see the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point they find a freighter. So they're like, all right, here's our way out of here as soon as we get rid of the Voxen Queen. And so they have, I think they have Loie work on it with the Dark Jedi twins, and I think someone else, I can't remember. I think that's where they keep Raynar for the rest of the book. Yeah, pretty sure. And then Han and Leia go to check on the baby, and was it Adaric and Meewall, their Nogri bodyguards? Star by Star, that's how you make Suicide Squad story. Rogue One, sorry, Master. Nice. Anyway, so they go there and they find out Viki Sesh is trying to kidnap Ben Skywalker. So they end up cornering her, and she had like a speeder waiting, so she had to kind of jump down. But like everybody at this point knows, hey, she's a traitor.
Yeah.
Everybody finally understood. Yeah, she wasn't just she wasn't just a simple victim. She's genuinely undermining us now, and now she just tried to kidnap a child.
Yeah.
And so then it cuts to Luke with Mara, Silgal, and Danny Kui, and they're talking about the captured Yamos because, again, it's not cooperative. They're still trying to figure out how to make this thing work for them, how they can disrupt its signal so that they can disrupt the Vong ship patterns and actually have a chance at taking out their coordinated forces. And then we get to the part where it ends up biting them in the butt for trusting Darksiders.
Yep.
Lobaka is knocked down, kind of kicked out of the ship, and the ship is stolen by Lomi Plo and Welk. So now they at the moment they have no real escape route, which pretty much sucks. But like they kind of knew this might have been a one-way trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this just adds, I feel, to the stress that they are all feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
Because their only escape is now gone, and it's not going to get any easier from here. Members keep dying left and right, and they took Raynor with them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Lomi and Plo took Raynar with them, and they're still looking. Like, I know Lobaka got knocked out, and they're still looking for the Voxen Queen, so they get overwhelmed by Vong in that moment, and Anakin's strength is fading.
Yep.
And then I think Tassar. I think this is when Tassar made his sacrifice.
Perhaps, yeah. I can't recall that well.
Yeah, I think that either he was injured. No, I think they moved him. I think they moved. Either he was injured or they moved him. I can't remember. But I do remember a couple other details here. I do remember this is pretty much the point where it happens, where Anakin is kind of like holding them off, and let's see. Oh yeah, he sees an imposter Lobaka going for the Voxen pens, and he releases the Queen. We agreed to stay allied. Allied. Dark Jedi. We lied. But no, at this point, an imposter, Vong disguised as Lobaka, ends up basically to sneak past the Jedi, ends up releasing the Voxen Queen so that it can go further in.
Mm-hmm.
And Anakin pretty much tells everybody, "You need to go. Go after the Queen. I'll be right behind you." He pretty much tells them. He tells Tahiri, "I'll be right behind you." And she's about to kiss him, and he's like, "No." She's like, "No, I'll do that when you get out of here."
I think it's the opposite way around. So, they're about to kiss, and Tahiri says, "Not till you get back," because she ends up regretting that.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what she said.
Yeah.
But then we have Anakin's last stand, and it is absolutely like the funny thing is, like, I wasn't upset in this moment when it happened.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't care, but because I genuinely respected what he was doing. I'm like, oh, this is your big heroic sacrifice. This is the moment where you prove to be a Jedi. And he absolutely went out like a true Jedi. He became one with the Force, held off the Vong for quite a bit, and gave Nominor one of the biggest middle fingers I can think of, because the Lobaka imposter turned out to be Nominor.
Yeah.
He rolled a thermal detonator towards like this pod that had all the Voxen DNA, and before that's right, he basically threw it, and he tells Jason to kiss Tahiri for him.
Yeah, kiss Tahiri goodbye.
Then while he's kind of laying there, he got stabbed by some of the Vong's amphistaff, and then before Nominor can pick up the thermal detonator that's right by the pod, Anakin rolls it before he dies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He like gives it a little push and rolls it before he dies, and Nominor has to run, and it's just like beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's the beauty of fiction in terms of having such meaning to your death, because in life, I don't know if all of us necessarily get to have that.
No, definitely not.
So I think it's a beauty that in fiction, regardless if it's Star Wars or not, you can have these sort of really beautiful moments where, sure, they're dying, but in the last stand they do something really tremendous. But also, it's like I wanted to mention. You said he became one with the Force. I think that's important to note, just for the series moving forward in general, with certain characters and other things, that the only people who have done that we know of, not even Luke Skywalker has done that to this day. The only one so far we know that it's done that is Anakin, and that was only for a split second or for not a split second, but it's for a moment during the Clone Wars, and I think Jedi Trial is where he does that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and he still turned to the dark side afterwards. But
it's fulfilling the mission to the end.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, people feel like that it was kind of a cutoff for Anakin's great Jedi prophecy. I'm like, how do you know this wasn't the great Jedi prophecy? His death was not in vain.
Yeah.
He saved the Jedi by destroying the Voxen DNA in many ways.
Yeah, he
Yep.
destroyed the Voxen DNA, and his death ultimately ended up buying the team crucial time to hunt down the Voxen Queen. And not only that, his death was also kind of an inspiration for Jedi to live up to. Because again, the ultimate reality is that a Jedi's life is sacrifice, and it's a core value that I think people have forgotten about the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have to go now. Great stream, Star by Stars, amazing. Good night. Later, Lucas.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging
But
on.
yeah, so now
Yeah.
Jason and Jaina are kind of weeping in their own way. Jaina wants to go recover the body, and Jason's like, "No, we have to finish his mission." She's like, "You go finish the mission, then."
Mm-hmm. So there is a rift, which
Yeah,
eventually
it does. It creates a rift. Like Jaina goes with Tahiri, Alima, and Zek, and then Jason pretty much echoes Anakin's last order, but again they ignore it. And then right before that, right before that, Luke feels Anakin's death, and it hits him.
Yeah, so
And
does
Mara's like,
Leia.
"No, you need to focus. You need to focus on." You need to focus on helping on the battle right now because there's nothing you can do for him. And Luke feel like this is when I started having the feels about this whole situation.
Start
It
feeling
wasn't the death, but it was everybody's reaction to it, and in particular Luke's, when he felt like his heart was just yanked out of his chest.
Mm-hmm.
The one
And
that got
then
me, or I'll
yeah.
let you get to it. I'll wait for when you mention it.
And then when Leia and them are talking about talking like Leia, Lando, and Han are talking about giving Yuzon Vong Hunter droids to like the New Republic, some of the generals, and they're skeptical. It's like, what's this going to cost? And like, no, these are free of charge. We need it more than the money. Uh, but then all of a sudden, Leia feels it while she's holding Ben.
Mm-hmm.
She feels her own son's death, and Han, despite having no force ability,
He
he
understands
gets
as
it
well.
just from a look, and he just starts shooting things that make noise like alarm going off.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah, and then Lando's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And Han Lewis, "They've killed him. They've killed my boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But before that,
Like
it's the entire
like the monsters have killed my son."
it's the entire beat of the scene though, because you start with Leia being unable to even say the name. She keeps like stuttering to finish
Like,
the word. She doesn't need to. Han knows, and he's trying to remain calm for her. But at some point, he just starts blasting the blaster, and it's such a powerful and visceral.
What's interesting is that it ends up being Lando who calms him down because he's like there's nothing. He's like, what do you know? He's not your son. He says, yeah, but he's my best friend's son, and I still sent him over there, knowing full well he could die. So Lando is even feeling guilt over it.
I mean, he's basically like an uncle. So,
which, again, it speaks a lot about Lando's character. Jedi Prince is better than Andor. Okay. All right, but yeah, Lando is even feeling guilt about this, which I absolutely love. And then Han pretty much goes to Leia and comforts her, which I think is great. Like, he's like, last time I fell apart over Chewie, I can't fall apart now. This time she needs me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm here, princess. I'll always be here. And I just, I'm sorry.
A great thing about all this is if you look on it on a series level as a whole, if you were reading in chronological order, you have everything with how Leia feels intrusive Bakura, and she basically tells her dad, because she sees his spirit in Truce Bakor, I want nothing to do with you. And then you get to Tatooine's Ghost, which is also written by Troy Denning. And literally that whole book is pretty small scale. And it's relationship problems between Leia and Han, and how I guess at some point Leia agreed with Han that they would never have kids. And then, Han's like, okay, but we're getting older, and I think I do. And part of the thing, she's afraid of her kids becoming her father, right? And, first she has Jason and Jaina in Heir to the Empire. But I think it speaks wonders that she names her son Anakin, almost like she's forgiven her father finally, so she's allowing one of her
Well,
sons.
yeah, it was an attempt at redemption of the name.
Exactly. And in this book, it's almost like with what Anakin does in this book, it doesn't erase the past, but it's almost like now Anakin, the name, is completely redeemed. And when you say the name, you can think about this moment instead of what his grandmother.
When everybody thinks about Anakin, they're not going to think about the dark man and the mask. They're going to think about the young boy who gave up everything to save the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And that speaks wonderful. And this is the sad thing. People think there's no consistency with what goes on in the EU and, a lot of the poetry and symmetry, but you can see it right here. You can see it right here. This is just another example, but yeah, basically, so after everybody feels like the big guilt storm, the New Republic is trying, its forces are trying, kind of slowly being pushed back because they have to defend Coruscant. Mind you, the Vong fleet is not there yet. But they've gotten to the point because the Vong still have a few more hostages aboard some of their ships. Literally, and I feel like the military split, because again, I understand why he's doing it, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, I can also understand why they don't like that he's doing it. But Garm Bel Iblis is firing on ships that are Vong that have civilians in it, and they're begging him not to fire. And the civilians are just trying to get out of the crossfire because they just kind of broke free of their captors. But at the same time, you can also see straight up they're in particular, I think it's Admiral Sove and Tres Crefi are this is not right. I get that Garm Bel Iblis is a legend among the rebellion forces, and he kind of does things his own way, but this is kind of too far. He's killing civilians in order to get the Vong. And so it kind of just splits them. They take out a Yamosk, and after the battle happens, the Senate pretty much gets a full address because Borsk Phalia starts supporting Garm Bel Iblis's actions, because again, to him it makes the most strategic sense. But Crefi and Sove are all a lot of these New Republic forces are we're going to resign unless you rein this in. And at this point, Phalia is getting desperate, so he tries asking Leia for help. Literally calms her at their Coruscant residence. And of course, he does his usual, political thing where he's my condolences on the loss of your son, but I need Leia's help. And Han's just yeah, no, my wife is in no condition to talk to the Senate right now. He pretty much just grants her that bit of peace.
Yep.
And to be fair, Leia did say, I'm done with the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I guess, finally, Silgal finds a way to disrupt the Vong signal, the Yamosk signal. But of course, that actually leads the errant venture back, and a Vong ship that was chasing it back to Eclipse Base. And the Vong ship is specifically steering to the place where the Yamosk is. so it can crash into the Yamosk and try to stop the New Republic from utilizing it. However, it doesn't end up really mattering because she still saved the data on how to disrupt the Yamosk signal, so that's something at least.
Uh-huh.
And then let's see.
Hmm.
And so now finally the Vong fleet has arrived at Coruscant. It's
Yep.
got its planetary shields up. Mara and Luke are worried because Ben's on the planet with Han and Leia, and she doesn't know, like if Leia's even in condition to take care of him at this point. Let's see here. Check my notes again. And then basically Lando and Tendra, I think which one was it? It was Commander or Admiral Batra. Pretty much donate. Pretty much are able to donate some of the Yuzong Vong Hunter droids to the New Republic, and basically it's roughly around that point they start strategizing on how to hold off the Vong fleet, including
Yeah.
like a plan that involves like moving a lot of the mines that surround it, because they had like a fleet of mines, and they tell them to bring it closer to like the top of Coruscant, or closer to Coruscant. And around this time, Batra decides to reactivate Lando. So Lando is technically once again a New Republic general,
Yeah.
which I do like. So Mara actually kind of thinks Kraffi is a little cowardly because he's not doing what Garmbel Iblis is doing. And I guess eventually the ploy does work, because after some of like the planetary shields start falling, like basically those, like there's nothing they can do for the civilian ships that are already heading to the planetary, because they can't lower the planetary shields, so the civilians are as good as dead anyway. Which pretty much kind of explains why Garmbel Iblis was firing on them to begin with. Because he knew they were just going to end up hitting the shield wall anyway. And so as soon as the Vong ships get close enough, they activate the mines and wipe out a good portion of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a surprise Yamosk there. Wedge orders Mukmar not to attack because of the mine gambit. And then Jaina's group, Jaina's group goes in like, because they're trying to recover Anakin's body, rather than focusing on the mission that Anakin set them on. They're trying to recover his body. I'm like, oh great.
I mean, to be fair,
she's hurting. I know.
And I don't know what I would do in that situation, because I've never been in something drastic. But you know, I might, if I lost this much, I'd probably at least want my family member's body back to properly mourn. But it's also like, it's not the smartest decision, but like, it's also very human.
The way I look at it, and again from a human standpoint, I'm sure there's a lot of other people who lost loved ones and can't get their bodies back.
Yeah.
Why is mine more important than anybody else's?
Yeah, but that's how we all think, though, because we're all super selfish.
Well, yeah, we are, but at the same time, I'm like,
I would have expect, like, if I'm in a burning building and there's some rando and their like wife is there and I'm there, I fully expect them not to save me. But I get that it's not the right decision to make, logically speaking.
Well, what I mean is, recovering his body wouldn't make any difference. He's still dead, and you're just putting yourself and other lives at risk, she's not thinking rationally again, and I get it, she's grieving. But like at the same time, I'm like, would he want you to do this?
Yeah.
And then Jason sees Vergere and Nominor arguing, and Vergere has Anakin's lightsaber. And she actually, I know what she did. She intentionally bumped the comlink, pretending to fumble with it, so that Jason and them could listen in and hear what's going on.
Oh, it's great.
I think she was hoping that they would know a little bit of the Vong language.
Yeah.
So that they could understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to go because I'm starting to crash out.
Fair enough.
If you need to go and come back, that's fine. If you can if you can't come back, just let me know. If you can, then let me know. Obviously.
Oh, by crash out, I mean I'm getting tired.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
It's a long book.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I know, and we're close to the end.
And I'm 2 hours ahead of you too.
Yeah, I appreciate you for sticking with me as long as you did, Net. I'll see you on the next one.
Yep, see you. Bye.
Pleasure seeing you again, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Bye.
Bye.
And then there were 3.
And then there's
But Jaina attacks in a freighter. She's been consumed by the dark side, and Jason can't even like feel her anymore.
Yeah.
Because again, he's still kind of cutting himself off a little from the Force.
Yeah.
Or at least from any emotional connection with the dark side, because typically he's connected with his sister, but not in this instance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Vergere, after she gets split up from Nominor, she tells the kids to come out and says, she's like, Vox and Queen went that way. And they're like, whose side are you on? And she's like, I'm on my side, I guess.
She's one of the most fascinating characters in all fiction to me. And I think she's probably one of the best female characters in Star Wars. I think the only one that may rival her for me is Kreia in KOTOR 2, even though they got vastly different ideologies, but they are both equally fascinating.
My genuine, honest opinion about both of them, I'm like, it's funny because both of their theologies or whatever are cringe.
But I have a very nuanced perspective that I'll discuss when we get there. So.
I when it comes to the Force and the Jedi, I don't look in grays. It's black and white.
Well, listen. All I can say without spoiling the book for you is that I agree with you in terms of what the universe presents, but I think her view is extremely fascinating and deeply flawed, and because it's flawed, causes problems for other people. But I don't.
Well, I guess in that regard, it makes sense because and again, it has that same sort of philosophy about being without the Force. I actually like the one part of the novel I liked for Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void was Dalian's philosophy, because he wanted to live without the Force.
Yeah, that was interesting. But I'll say, I without getting into spoilers, I do think Vajir is genuine, and I don't think she's a bad person. But she has a deeply flawed ideology that is opposed to what the universe, throughout several books and comics, produced. So.
Yeah.
And then Han and Leia try to evacuate with Ben so that they can get to the Falcon and everything. And security stops them because they have C-3PO. And then some of the Yuzon Vong hunters pop up and they start shooting at the security guards, and lo and behold, more Vong with Ugolith maskers. Because they've already deeply infiltrated. And
They're
then
everywhere.
Yeah, well, Vicky hires a boy. She puts on an Ugolith masker to change her face. And then she hires a boy to look like Anakin so that she can try to guilt Han and Leia into thinking that she's like the wife of one of the veterans that was under his command, I think during Wraith Squadron or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, see. And then they get there, and the Falcon is like severely damaged. So is Kreia the type? Oh, hang on, let's see. Is Kreia the type to believe that balance in the Force means middle of light and dark? Yeah, she
No.
has that cringe. She has that cringe philosophy, Andrus.
Well, Kreia
Well-
is an atheist who found out God existed and wants to kill God.
Yeah,
Because
pretty
the Force
much.
of Star Wars is essentially the god of that universe, and
But
she believes
I
everything to be perfect. So,
I honestly consider that kind of pathetic, and the reason why I consider that kind of pathetic is like you found out God exists and you can't cope with that fact.
yeah,
So you're gonna kill the universe
yeah,
because God exists. That's incredibly selfish and
yeah.
incredibly cringe. But
Yeah.
but what I mean is like so let me get back to Falcon's damage. And then Vicky tries her ploy to take out Han and Leia, but of course Derek and Meewall stop her. I think was it Meewall the female? I think she's killed. Oh no, Meewall chases after the kid. No, Derek dies, and so oh hey Lance, what's up, man?
Lance in the chat, crazy.
This is nice to see Lance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, Leia gets upset and decides to chase after Vicky, and like Han's like, no, wait, come back, and he leaves. I think he eventually leaves Ben with C-3PO. Yeah, I'm actually at home for this stream. Nice. But Leia starts chasing after Vicky Sesh, follows her to her yacht, and actually cuts her across the back with her lightsaber. She severely injures Vicky. So I'm like, okay, so she's straight up damaged and ugly now. She'll fit right in with her Vong overlords now. But so yeah, they find out Han and Leia, because they still haven't gotten the Falcon in the air yet. They find out that 3PO took Ben onto the freighter, the Burt, with a bunch of people, and then Han contacts Luke and Mara saying, Vicky Sesh, the Hillary Clinton of Star. Yeah, kind of. But as soon as they find out that their kid is on a freighter and in danger, Luke and Mara do an insane X-wing dive into the planet's surface, trying to get there, and they start getting attacked by Vong and Vicky Sesh's freighter. And then both Luke and Mara get partially damaged and have to end up making a crash landing, and they have to hope that Han and Leia in the Falcon can protect the Burt. Such an odd name for a freighter, the Burt.
Yep.
It's followed by the defense freighter known as the Ernie. So Jaina wakes up after her ship crash from using the dark side. They have to hold off more Vong. And then Han and Leia go to see, decide to, because they can't really do anything about the Burt at this point, they decide to go to see Borsk Phalia and decide to defend it. Defend, yeah. And then Leia has this really killer speech after she decides to support Phalia last minute, but it's
a really good
I need
one.
to find it. Hang on a second.
This is also the book where Jaina uses Force lightning for the first time when she's upset.
Yeah.
Which we kind of skipped over, which is fine. I just think it's an interesting note. Also, that Vergier sees that and isn't upset that she's using lightning, but is upset at her anger, which I find interesting.
Hang on, just give me a minute. I'm gonna try to find the.
Okay. hmm So what I will say, if I am to kill the silence really quickly, is regarding the Voxen. I feel that the way that they were introduced in this, I would have preferred if they were introduced a couple novels earlier, perhaps in Balance Point. But I understand that with the scheduling of the new Jedi Order and how it worked with a lot of plot elements being moved forwards or backwards through the series, Star by Star ended up really becoming a very, let's say, full book in terms of new plot points. And
Yeah,
it's understandable, but I thought that it was a bit jarring how the Voxen get introduced and defeated within the same book, even though they appear as
I
such
agree
a
with
major
that.
plot point.
Though I do think it helps make the book kind of stand out more in terms of
Yeah,
being a bit more fresh. Because it definitely felt like things were getting a little stale, and it felt like
of
they kind of
course.
helped bring something
hmm
new in.
I found the
Yeah.
speech.
You found it? Alrighty.
See, I think this is the proper paragraph. But I'll see where. Here we go. This is not the end, Leia said. 2 years ago, the Yuzan Vong entered our galaxy. They came not as friends and equals, though we would have gladly welcomed them as such, but as thieves and conquerors. They saw a galaxy at peace and mistook the strength of our convictions for frailty of arms, the wisdom of compromise for the timidity of cowards. They attacked without provocation or mercy, slaying billions of our citizens, enslaving entire worlds, sacrificing millions of beings to appease the
hmm
bloodlust of their imaginary gods. They
Yeah.
believed we would be easily defeated because they believed we would yield without a fight. They were wrong. We have fought at Dubrillion, Ithor, the Black Bantha, Borlias, and Corellia. We have fought them every leg of the way from the outer rim into the core. We have lost untold numbers of loved ones. My own son Anakin and my husband's dear friend Chewbacca among them. Now we are battling in the skies over Coruscant itself. We are still fighting. Soon the enemy will be on our rooftops, in our homes, roaming the dark underlayers of our city. To those able to evacuate and to those trapped behind, I say the same thing I would tell my twins, were I able to reach them behind enemy lines. Keep fighting. This is not the end. Twice already, Jedi-led forces have decimated Yuzan Vong fleets, and we enter each battle with new weapons and better tactics. We have prevailed against ruthless enemies before, against Palpatine, against Thrawn, against the Siruk. This is a war. We know how to win. Keep fighting until you can fight no longer. Then exhaust the enemy chasing you and turn and fight some more. Keep fighting.
hmm
I promise you, we will prevail.
Pretty epic.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that I'm like, yes, this is exactly what we what we come here for.
Uh,
Notice, yeah, Leia is straight up relentless in that speech, and I absolutely love it.
hmm
Every second of it.
Yeah, it shows her diplomacy. Well, her very much like her populist sort of persona, not in a negative
She
light,
wasn't Walt
but how
Disney,
she
right?
can really rally the masses when
Yeah.
it comes to it.
So in this one, uh, Lando and Tendra decide to go over to the Burt so they can rescue young Ben and C-3PO. And he's not the only one because Vicky Sesh and her Vong forces start moving in as well. But Lando's not alone. He's got some Vong Hunter droids, so it's pretty even fight in my opinion.
hmm
And I think the most cleverest person out of everybody here, though, had to be C-3PO
Mm.
because he wrapped up a voice box. Oh no, it was his. He wrapped up like a little thing of produce or something like that. He wrapped it in there, and he was making baby cries himself. while Anakin was safe. Not Anakin, sorry. Ben was safe inside his stomach, like his stomach mechanism.
Yeah.
And Vicky, in the escape, goes into one of the pods and takes the wrapped up package and not the kid, which I thought was another huge, wonderful middle finger to her. So, as if she wasn't getting owned enough, now this happens.
No.
And so we cut to Jason, who actually manages to use his control tactic on the Voxen Queen.
Yeah.
And gets her to either kill or severely injure her handlers.
Yeah.
So that he can eventually get there. But yeah.
Yeah, and also concurrently with this, I'm forgetting the kid's name, but that little boy who actually looks like Anakin Solo, he's latched on to Han and Leia now, if I recall correctly. And Leia's commenting on how off that kind of feels, but how it doesn't bring her any sadness. But
well, the kid didn't actually regret anything he did, but at the same time, she is kind of sad. Yeah, but basically, okay, what was in my notes here? Oh yeah, so Jason, while they go, because I think they found another freighter they can use. Oh no, wait, that's right. They find Nama Noor's ship and they go to steal it. But basically, what am I thinking of here? Basically, Jason is going to go take care of the Voxen Queen himself. Basically, finish Anakin's mission for him. And I guess him and Tenel Ka almost share a kiss, but get interrupted by Vergier. So there is that relationship there, which is nice.
Just nice to finally be brought back after it was ignored for several books. Even though they were basically dating at the end of Young Jedi Knights, which, by the way, just for reference point, the final book of Young Jedi Knights is only 6 months from Vector Prime. So what happened in 6 months that they aren't together? And why is Jason a big philosopher in only 6 months? What happened to you, bro? People say he matured, and I'm like, no, it's 6 months. There's no way. Like, he had to have something profound happen to be this bad. Anyway, that's a whole separate thing. I had to get my
started watching like those alpha male TikToks, I think, and he changed. So
not been watching too much Andrew Tate, you know.
Yeah, but basically, Jason learns that Jaina's alive because he was cut off from her because of her use of the dark side. He wasn't sure if she actually survived the ship crash when she went nuts. But basically, he goes down there and he ends up having to fight the Voxen Queen, the Shaper, and some of the other Vong, getting injured. Maybe Jason got that teenager angst. Well, that would be one way to put it, but like he suddenly at like, what was it, like 16, 17 years old, he's a philosopher.
Like you got to remember, at the end of Young Jedi Knights, he was the funny guy who talks to animals, and he got into a really deep relationship with Tenel Ka, and that's where we left off. We come back, and he's acting like he's been going to university for the past 4 years and doing a philosophy degree, and it doesn't make sense. It has to be explained. Like, what happened in those 6 months that you so vastly changed? Puberty doesn't cut it. Like, you need to give me an explanation, and we have none. Anyway.
But Jason throws one of his thermal detonators, and I think it's one of his last ones, and he injures the Shaper and the Voxen Queen, but they're not completely dead because they still try to kill him. And then I think, if I remember correctly, Vergier tosses him a grenade because he tosses him another thermal detonator because he gets the Voxen Queen like cornered in like some muck or something like that, and like she eventually falls off of a ledge and dies.
Yeah.
What a way.
Thank goodness she's gone.
But the problem is like Vergier's like, okay, yeah, the Vong are coming, and you're pretty much going to get captured because like at this point he has no strength to like get up, and I think the only reason he had like any sort of strength was because Vergier was crying over him and trying to like use some of her tears to heal him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And like she's like, well, okay, so at this point forward, it's all going to be pain from now on, which basically has me worried. If you know
Oh
what I'm.
boy, just wait for Trader. Just wait for Trader.
I'm
Oh,
still
boy.
3 books away from Trader. You know, I got to go through Dark Journey because Jonathan says it's a good I guess sort of like another like young Jedi Knight type story, and then
Oh yeah, definitely.
the late great Aaron Alston's Enemy Lines duology before I can touch Trader.
Correct.
No, yeah, that's fine. I mean, all I can say non-spoiler, it essentially covers that same time span of those 3 books that you're reading. It just explains what he was going through while you're reading those, so it'll actually work perfectly for you anyway.
All right.
So.
Trader is very underrated, one of my favorite. Yeah, I'm hoping to like it too, Purist. But because I tend to like Matthew Stover's work, so I'm probably going to like Trader. But I'm also looking forward to the other stuff because I'm wondering how good they are. And again, after Star by Star, I know nothing about what the next couple of books are going to be. Like, I know what happens at the end of Unifying Force, vaguely, but like how it's going to get there, I know little to nothing about what's going to happen in the next couple of books, which has me very excited.
Which is fantastic because you essentially you're going in blind, and that's the best way to go. NASA died.
By the way, unrelated comment. Have you been hearing a rooster screeching in the background?
Yes,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure if
know
the
where it's coming
microphone's.
from. I guess it's coming from NASA.
There's a rooster screeching behind me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard the rooster.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
My own stream just kicked me.
Happens.
I feel like some teenagers that get out of high school think they're smarter and understand. Yeah, that is true. However, Jason is like life crisis intelligence.
You might as well
Like
be
you're 30 years old and having a midlife crisis.
You might as well be Jason in Vector Prime with how much of a vastly different character he is.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them. Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, basically, she gets captured, and Borsk Phalia gets a message from Luke and Mara where they are and where Han can pick them up, or Han and Leia can pick them up, and then Phalia's guards turn out to be Vong.
All fun times. Yeah,
and then the defense cannon that Han and Leia were using to protect the Imperial Palace ends up getting blown to bits. So that's Borsk Phalia's last line of defense gone. And so they pretty much determine, they tell Phalia, like, look, you've done enough. We need to evacuate the planet. And then Phalia makes it very clear. He's like, all right, get to work, start evacuating the planet. He says, don't wait for me. And that's when I knew something was about to go down.
Yeah.
One of the most badass moments in all Star Wars.
And then I guess some EU writers don't read everything except for maybe Lucino. Lucino is definitely one of the big lore guys.
Yeah,
I can tell by like
Troy Denning, for all the hate he's probably one of the most well versed in terms of
the Denning verse.
Yeah, I hate that term. It's all EU. But they're probably the 3 most predominantly like super well versed in the universe itself and the EU specifically. I would also mention Bongiorno, but and then Abel G. Pena especially as the core people that like just know everything. It's kind of insane.
Well, honestly, there's some other people that should definitely get credit because they aren't majorly writers, but they were still very instrumental. Daniel Wallace and
Yeah, Jason Fry.
Ryder Winham, Jason Fry a bit, yeah. Even Pablo Hidalgo a little bit before he went a little, Yeah, Dan Wallace, Daniel Wallace, Dan Wallace, whatever they call him. Ryder Winham was someone who really should have gotten a novel of his own. I mean, I know he got those short TCW tie-in books about Neurokungurama. Oh yeah, no, I love those ones. But he got those Neurokungurama books, as well as like some of the stuff that's like specifically about like particular characters, like the life and legends of Luke Skywalker. Lucino brought him onto this project to make sure the lore stayed. Oh, excellent! That makes sense. Yeah, Lucino is like you can look at Lucino's novels, and because again, like when I went through Darth Plagueis, it was literally just it wasn't just a novel. It was literally just an EU lore book because I had already gone through some of the comics and novels beforehand. So I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, I know what that. That was the whole book for me. I'm like, oh, that's a reference to that. That's a reference to that. It was nice.
It's one of the last ones. It was one of the later published works, like 2012, I think it was, or something like that. So it was one of the later works. So it had the most accurate, complete knowledge to kind of reference everything it possibly could in that. So.
Wait, which one?
In Darth Plagueis.
Oh yeah.
The benefit of having everything there to kind of reference and tie in.
Which is good, very good, because there's that one, but let me get back to my notes for a sec. And then Borstphalia pretty much he waits like and then one of the Vong stabs him with an amphistaff. And he's like, the poison is slowly killing me. He's like, are you Savang Law? Because he's trying to figure out which one is Savang Law. It's like, I've been meaning to meet with him face to face. He's like, no, Savang Law is not meeting with you. And then Phalia realizes, oh, this guy's smarter than I thought he was. He probably also played Dejarik and probably figured out what my move was going to be. So basically Phalia pretty much had a dead man's trigger on his heart.
Yep.
And like just blew the building. And you could argue that it's Savan Law's victory, but at the same time it's also his shame because he couldn't face Phalia directly.
Yeah.
And then you get to let's see. And I would actually consider that a victory from for Borstphalia, at least as far as like the way he went out.
It's a good character moment to like, end his character.
My YouTube channel, I actually made a funny video about how he went out.
Yep.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen it yet.
If you haven't watched it, go and give it a watch after the stream is done.
It's like I think it's like 30 seconds or something like that. Still,
it's
still
really short.
Good.
It's nothing, kids.
But so Jaina is reluctantly forced to leave Jason behind after the way she treated him after Anakin's death. So she's like obviously upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Han and Leia pick up Luke and Mara and the Falcon. They pretty much find out that like Lando got their son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Luke and Mara take up the turret and hold off the Vong. And Leia pretty much officially becomes Han's new co-pilot.
Yeah.
He's like, Han even makes a joke. He's like, we'll see if we can get like a smaller suit for you, or it's not suit, smaller chair for you. So it'll be easier for you to move around here. She's like, I kind of like that idea. Although I think at the same time she's still a little reluctant because of Chewie.
Yeah.
So basically, Silgal and Danny use the same jamming tactic that they used last time, and they're able to set up an escape vector for the Falcon to escape in. So that was all good too. And then they rendezvous with Leia and all them. But she still basically kind of senses that her kids are in trouble, and that's roughly how the book ends. But basically, Coruscant. Well, it's like Coruscant's fully fallen now at this point.
Yep.
New Republic it's broken, battered, and shattered, and Anakin is dead, both as a symbol. Jason's behind enemy lines, and
everyone thinks Jason's dead.
Yeah,
except
and
Leia, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and then like the kids, because I'm pretty sure Gamma Rysode went with them, although he might have been captured. Who knows?
No, he went with them. It's like everyone except Jason.
Everyone except Jason got caught.
And we'll get to Gamma Rysode once we get to Traitor.
Oh, I know. I know he has a big moment in that book. I just don't know the significance of it. But he has like a sort of like a Gandalf "you shall not pass" moment. And don't worry, Alex, I'll let you know when I get to that.
Yeah.
Because I know how badly you want to be a part of that discussion.
Who doesn't?
The Ganner.
Speak.
But yeah, so that's Star by Star. What do I think of it? It is a fantastic EU book. Very well written, very well done. And it actually, again, like whenever somebody hypes up something, there's always like some sort of backdrop. This is the first time I've gone through an EU Star Wars novel, and there wasn't any sort of like downside or backdrop. I mean, like there's minor issues, but like everything's got minor.
Correct.
But the good in this book outweighed any of the bad, and was just fantastic. Just a great book. And frankly, not knowing what happens next just makes it more exciting for me because I get to see. I wouldn't give it I might give it a 10 out of 10.
This is why, no matter
it definitely got a check mark.
Brand new or not, when it comes to like if somebody's never made YouTube before, like a YouTube video, and they're getting into the EU, I always beg them to start because when you read or you watch or you play a video game, you play it that first time is magical, and you can play it again and again, and there's always going to be those emotions, but it's never the same as that first time. And so you have to live vicariously through Let's Plays or friends or this or that. And so I love that you're going through it, and I love that you don't know, because I get to live vicariously through you as you experience it for the first time, even if you vaguely know some things that happen. So
and that again, because it's vaguely, I'm really excited to see where it gets to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like frankly, at worst, this book has like minor issues that I wasn't a big fan, but it's like so minor that they're barely there.
Yeah, I'm not much of an action person, especially in novels. I find it hard to visualize. Few authors have done a good job of. It's not the author's fault, but I'm just dumb. But there's only been a couple authors that have made me able to visualize it. Otherwise, I'm reading for information and context like you would in a history book, but I'm not actually seeing it a lot of the time. So there's a lot of action in this book. I'd say like 1/3 of this book is action, maybe even more. And so
I reread after 20 plus years is pretty awesome. I'm glad, Paris.
Yeah.
Aren't you guys still? What are you on? Agents of Chaos, or are you on Age of Victory? I can't remember. I know you guys are on one of those duologies, but I hope it's going well for y'all. But yeah, like I'm genuinely excited to see how Dark Journey, Enemy Lines, and Traitor are going to be, and how it's going to culminate even further beyond that.
Yeah.
I do think it kind of slogs. I question 19 books
Nice.
being a bit much
Yeah,
for
it
the.
is. It
I
is.
think it kind of ruins the steam. But I still think overall the story in these 19 books is overall the greatest thing that Star Wars has ever
Well,
produced.
personally, I do wish they had more comics, and part of me does wish they had at least 1 or 2 video games, kind of like the multimedia project has.
Yeah, I agree. But the 19 books, it definitely feels like, and I'll say, like, I'm not, I hope you are super hyped, and I hope you love Enemy Lines. I think there are some things where it feels like, okay, now you're purposely wasting my time so we can't reach an ending. And it's like a lot of these, like, I'll say Enemy Lines 2, the plot in that, without talking about it, that could have been, that didn't have to be in New Jedi Order. It could have been a one-off book somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
One
Well,
of a few elements.
I'll see when I get
Yeah.
there.
But so at times it feels like it kind of goes on longer than it should. But
Correct.
the journey anyway is so grand and so vast that I can forego some of those complaints, and that's me being critical because I reread these, what was it, like 2 years ago now? But so I try to be more analytical and critical the second time I went through it, and so I saw more flaws when I did that than I did when I was just like, oh my gosh, more Star Wars, my sequel that I wanted instead of what I got, and
the Purist just brought up the Sean Williams book, and you're not the first one to say it got a little weak around there. I heard like the first 2 books are kind of a slog to get through, but the third one is where it all pays off pretty well. So I'm like,
yeah.
Well, you form your own opinion once you get
after
there.
the final
in my
process.
opinion,
Final Prophecy is a banger. So
I'll see. Like I said, I'll see when I get there.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you guys pop up again. Which, by the way, Fatal Alliance is trash. Yeah, that one's just that one did. We do not recognize your authority. I'm sorry, I just could not get that out of my head how goofy that was from the Mark Thompson audiobook. But
definitely
I haven't read Force Unleashed specifically because Sean Williams wrote it too. Force Unleashed is all right. I personally prefer the Force Unleashed 2. I thought that was a better constructed story.
And it adds more. It actually expands the universe as opposed to the first one being kind of beat for beat, just the video game. And if it's just gonna be beat for beat the video game, then I'll just play the video game. Like, why am I gonna read it? So.
Well, it's funny with the Force Unleashed 2 novelization as well as the video game. Even the video game is kind of different with how it portrays Starkiller in comparison to the novel. Like in the novel, Starkiller is like he's a bit more fair-minded, whereas in the video game he acts like an angsty teenager.
Yeah, that's true. I also think mainly the second book has a lot more merit. I think the first book is you mainly read it so that way when some EU hater says, "Oh my gosh, he's so overpowered," you can go, "Well, actually, if you read the book, they nerf him a lot." And he didn't pull down a Star Destroyer. The Star Destroyer was already falling, and he kind of just directed it toward him. So you could say,
No, I've seen that argument plenty, and I've seen that argument plenty, and I get why people prefer the game, but I'm like, that's kind of the whole point, is that it's a video game. So, and even what was it, Sam Witwer said, like they made it so that the game's force powers were cranked up to 11. So when you're holding your force power, it looks like you're doing a Kamehameha. So
yeah, absolutely. It was meant to be power fantasy. You weren't meant to take the
the game is literally called The Force Unleashed.
Yeah, the story may be canon, but the gameplay elements and the extreme force power that
Andrus, that's what he was talking about.
He's still extremely powerful regardless, because even in the novel, like, he does stand up.
He was trained by Vader.
Yeah, he stands up to Palpatine, but in the novel, we get to be inside his brain, and he's like, I'm struggling, like, I'm barely holding on, I'm dying as I'm holding off this lightning. Like, so it definitely makes it more plausible in the novel as opposed to how it's portrayed. Like, he's just being able to hold off Palpatine's lightning in the video game like it's no problem, So,
but I want to thank you guys for popping on another one of these streams. I know you couldn't make it last time, Alex, but I really appreciate you coming on. I gotta say please like, share, subscribe, but also please follow, like, people like Alex. I know Yiannis doesn't want anybody to, but still. But
It was
people
my
like
pleasure being on.
yeah, but
sorry for being
people
late,
like
but
MagnenoAlex, please check out his YouTube channel for his
check him out, guys.
top tier reviews. Check out Jonathan Koan for his book reviews and NetCat for his fun gaming stuff that he does occasionally. But yeah, once again, and I hope to reconvene this soon for the Dark Journey / the short story that goes with it, Apprentice. Who would win in the game? Who would win, Ahsoka or Game Star Killer? Well, Game Star Killer because he's OP, but
Yeah. Wait, is this Yiannis? Is in like your cousin Yiannis?
yeah.
I didn't know I was talking this whole time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you properly.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, Yiannis and Net have been some of my regulars on these stream.
Oh, fair enough.
Yiannis
I
is
watched some of
cool.
them, and I did not put two and two together. I'm just a moron.
I apologize for being late today as well. So
don't worry about it, man. My guess is you had something you needed to do, or you were resting because you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say, by the way, Alex, at some point, probably after the con, I'm gonna need an address from you so I can send you like the first volume of Berserk, because I gotta shill Berserk here.
okay.
Alrighty.
I've been recommended to read Berserk by a couple of people.
You should. You really should.
Yeah, okay.
It's not for the faint of heart, though. It's very dark. But then again, the only reason I know Alex might be able to handle it is because he's done Malazan, and so.
Yeah. Malazan, I just finished Prince of Nothing by R. Scott Bakker. That's rough. I can't recommend it to anybody. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you, it's for some people and it's not for others. And that's all I can really say. If you don't like it, I completely understand. I have no hate towards you. You don't have a bad opinion. Your stomach can only handle so much. And some people will not be able to, and that's okay. I barely could, but I powered through.
Well,
Berserk is more visual, so it might be a little harsher for you than the descriptions for Malazan, but
no. Violence is fine.
Right.
There's a lot of sexual stuff in Prince of Nothing that made me uncomfortable, but
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you once again for joining.
No problem.
Anybody in the comments, thank you for joining as well. Have a nice night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Have a nice day.
May the force be with you, or whatever.